even when you lost. There's always a hope. Rise and fight.
Welcome, everybody, to another day of the BSL. I am Niallkin, and once again, joined by the one and only Mr. Diggity. And today, it's going to be Group C of the round of 16. We've gotten all the Terrans through almost in Group A and B, but now we've got an all Protoss and Zerg lineup, and it's super stacked. We've got Sziky, Avi-Love, Xin, and Dewalt. Diggity, what do you think about this group?
I am first a little sad that we're most likely going to see a Zerg eliminated, and there's not a lot of Zerg left. You got True Touch out there, and then you have Avi-Love and Sziky, and they're going head to head in the first match, which means, yeah. And then otherwise, we're seeing a lot of ZVP, and this is I was actually discussing with this with you beforehand. It's like hard to tell whether this is the group of death or whether the next group is the group of death. These are a lot of really strong players. You have Sziky, who arguably is the best Zerg out there right now and has played absolutely furious lately. Dewalt's in this group. Dewalt is always one of those guys that you think is potentially going to take the championship. And then poor Avi-Love, he had to take Dewalt on in the round of 24, and now he's facing him again in the round of 16. And then we have, Xin out there. And actually, I was able to catch a little bit of his play, not a ton of it, but he's a commentator player at a streamer out of China. So I was saying that we have the obligation to root for him, right? Because that's what casters do. Casters root for casters. But he looked pretty strong as well. So this is going to be some intense matchups. We're going to see a lot. So we got ZVZ to start, but I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of ZVP after that, regardless of how things shake out.
Yeah, it is true that Sziky and Avi-Love are really the only two remaining Zergs. So if they're both gone, literally it's just Terran and Protoss. And it would be pretty unfortunate to see no Zergs into the round of 8. Of course, you already mentioned Dewalt, somebody that can potentially win. But Sziky, what a beast this guy is. And if you guys watched the BSL series we had yesterday on Trovo, which was the BSL Race Championships, Sziky performed basically an all-kill. He got 6 kills there. And before that, Zerg had, I think, actually 0 points. So Sziky alone carrying the Zerg lineup in that particular thing. You guys should definitely check it out on Trovo. It's super fun. We've had super exciting games, and your boys plays in it sometimes. And we're going to have our Tosis on there eventually. Trust me, I've been talking to him. But yeah, I am very excited for this group. Of course, we've got the favorites with Sziky and Dewalt, but actually Avi-Love, every time we see him versus a Protoss, if he plays the split map, heavy Ling, heavy upgrade style, I can't even remember a time that style has lost. So Xin and Dewalt need to be careful versus Avi-Love, even if Avi-Love's coming from the losers bracket.
Avi-Love is one of those guys that he has even said it. I like playing this style where I keep my opponent off guard. And he's really good at getting into those situations where he presents something. And the thing is I think the problem he's going to have against Dewalt, if he runs into Dewalt in particular, is he's one of those guys who wants to take initiative. And Dewalt is one of those guys who refuses to give you initiative. He is always going to be the guy who takes initiative. However, against Sziky and against, I actually worry a little bit looking at one thing I did from the bit I saw of Xin's play. I loved his decision making. I liked that he could roll around the map a lot. He didn't overcommit troops like a lot of other Protoss do into Zerg. However, against Sziky and against Avi-Love, I'm worried he doesn't line up well against those two in particular. So Avi-Love, yeah, I think he has a shot. We saw his ZVZ is extremely strong versus Crossy. I think that's the best Zerg versus Zerg we've had potentially in BSL ever. What was that, 2 weeks ago, last week? So point being, it's not just like, oh yeah, Sziky's got this, no problem. Which is why I almost want to say, yeah, this is a group of death. It's weird, we have like a couple groups. We got the double group of death, we got this one today, and the next one tomorrow, where we also have Mihu Bonnet, Janhoon, and who am I missing in that group? Quark. Another group of death, it feels like. But this is a very stacked group, so I'm expecting extremely intense games.
Yeah, and Avi-Love in particular, ZVZ, what a wild style he plays. The Crossy game, there was Hydras, right? I mean, there was all types of stuff in that particular series. What I'm looking at right here is, good Lord, what does that MMR say from Sziky? I mean, we're looking at a secondary digit that I don't think I've ever seen, which is a 7. That's a 2,700 MMR rating. Absolutely bonkers. And the ladder stats are 47 and 5. This guy just doesn't lose, apparently, but no slouch on the other side. Avi-Love with nearly a 2450 MMR rating. We can see throughout BSL, generally, he's been doing very well since season 9. He got 9th to 12th in season 10. He got 4th in season 11, round of 16 in season 12. That's not bad. But you look at Sziky on the other side, only had kind of a bad showing in season 11, but he got 4th in the previous 2 seasons. So he's looking to make his mark this time and potentially go to the finals. And from what I've seen from him lately, I think if he makes it out of this group, which could be the death group, for sure he could make it to the finals.
Yeah, I think Ziky's one of those guys that could take a championship. He has the potential to do it. I think he has the best shot of any Zerg really that I've seen in the grouping thus far. Looks like we're going to be starting off on Monopoly, which ZVZ, yeah, 3-player rotational map that gives opportunities for sneaky stuff to happen. So it might play out well for Avi-Love.
So let's get into game 1 of our first series. It's Sziky versus Avi-Love on Monopoly. Okay, in the top left, our Zerg superstar, it is Sziky.
And at the 3 o'clock location, as the purple Zerg, we have Avi-Love.
Yeah, so I know the Avi-Love game versus Crossy was epic, and it was on Monopoly, correct? I didn't get to cast it, but I think I saw some of the highlights, and it was, from what I heard, like there was hive tech, there was lurkers, I think, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, they're hive tech, they're lurkers. It went into deep late game. It's one, and that's the thing Avi said. I actually got to talk to him, sent a couple messages previously, and he's like, I like doing a certain thing that catches my opponent. I like playing a style. That's actually what I like. It's kind of, I almost don't want to say like, oh, hey, this is straight up cheese. Looks like we're seeing actually even builds on both sides. So both players setting down that pool with I think an overlord. So I think it's overpool both directions, both playing safe. Looks like we got a gas as well. But he's basically saying, I like playing in a certain style that catches my opponent off guard. And then, never mind, 9 pool straight. That catches his opponent off guard and then making them adjust and seeing whether they can deal with what I'm dishing out. Like, I've thought it out, have they? So we'll see if he can pull that off against Sziky. The thing is Sziky is just so strong. Like you said, his MMR is insane right now. And on top of that, oftentimes when Avi-Love's pulling that stuff, like, multitasking is one of those things you want to task, and Ziky's multitasking is top tier.
Well, if we can ever get a late game ZVZ, I love it. I instantly am reminded of I think it was one of the StarLeague finals. I can't remember the second player. He was talking about how he can't lose late game ZVZ, which was funny because ZVZ never got to late game. But the other guy was Bi Hydra. I can't remember exactly who the other Bi member was, but ZVZ late game, there are so many options. It's not like other matchups where you're kind of limited, like TVT, obviously you're going BC tank, but ZVZ, you can go Devourers, you can go Ensnare, you can go Plague, you can go Lurker, you can go Hydras. There are so many things that you can do because Zerg has just so much powerful spells, and the Zerg units in general are quite weaker generally. Well, we have Sziky going for the 9 pool versus 9 pool here, and he's actually going to get aggressive here, and it's already going to be interesting to see how Avi-Love gets out. Oh,
got a nice
one
pick
lane.
off.
Nice.
So the Overlord advantage, I believe, was in Avi's favor. He had that Overlord scouting. The Lings coming out of the base, so he knew that he needed to shell up compared to what, and it looks like you can see the Overlord just meandering into the base, sees that it is equalized build orders. Looks like there's additional Zerglings being built. So right now, as things stand, I think that Overlord is not anywhere near, it hasn't managed there, so a little bit of an advantage as far as scouting information for Sziky. But when it comes down to it, it's going to be micro versus micro to the end, and Ziky's Ling micro is absolutely legendary. And if it comes down to an air fight, it's going to be Mutalist versus Mutalist, and keep in mind Ziky's Mutas are extremely strong as well, although I think Avi has equivalent Muta micro from what I've seen. But right now, because of that information disadvantage, basically it's going to come down to Zyki's game sense to make sure that he's going to realize that it's a complete even build order, that there's nothing else crazy happening, and that it is going to come down to a straight micro fight.
Yeah, that's true, because all Zyki saw was, okay, this guy has lings at the ramp. So it could have been overpool, probably could have been even a 12 pool by the time the lings had gotten there. So we'll see if Zyki can read this correctly. There's a drone cycle. Now, on other maps where there's not a tiny choke like this, that drone cycle could come back to bite Avi-Love. But we can see Zyki's going to take advantage of his ramp aggression and put down a hatchery at his nat. And there's going to be a hatchery in the main. Okay, so similar builds, but at the natural for Zyki means he's going to have access to that second gas. So it's going to be on Avi-Love to make something happen. Otherwise, the longer the game goes, more gas Zyki's going to have, and that means more mutas he's going to have.
You know, this actually might play out in Avi-Love's favor, because when you go for that in-base hatchery, yes, you're denied that second gas, but what that does mean, though, is you're covering less territory. Looks like, wow, able to get up and get a lean kill. Looks like there's going to be a counter lean kill. Testing that front door, wants to try to peek in. It looks like now those Zerglings starting to peel out. Decent coverage there from Avi-Love. It looks like he might be able to surround a lot of these Zerglings. It looks like they have, going to be able to completely wipe them out. And this is great timing as he's moving out, because this is around the Spire finishing time. And so right now, Avi-Love moving out, a creep colony being dropped by Zyki to try to defend this, but he's going to have a big flood of units coming to his base.
This might be game-ending move. There's more lings, obviously, and like you said, it's hitting right when mutas want to pop out. And I did not realize Zyki had no speed at all. So he loses everything. Is he really going mutas? He's going to lose. Okay, he does. Okay, the muta timing is actually very, very nice. So Zyki's not going to lose any drones, but it is a full drone pull, which is, I would say, around maybe 70 to 100 minerals or resources overall lost. So that's a big hit. Meanwhile, you can see Avi-Love, he's still got 300 minerals, 300 gas.
And actually, the other thing that happens because of this is that forced the cancellation of that expansion because of that. And so basically right now, Avi is up a hatchery. So he's got more larvae to work with, which means when he's maxed out, and he's got that, I guess, technically that +1 supply. And on top of that, with the Zerglings running around the field, that's also latently protecting overlords that are out in the field for him. Basically, Zyki has to deal with those Zerglings that are out on the ground, which means he can't go overlord hunting. So right now, Avi has a great defense perimeter. He's got Zerglings that can run around the map, which gives him an aggressive advantage. And Zyki's the person who's got to make something happen in this match.
Well, he needs to keep these lings alive. Zyki has done a fantastic job to actually catch these lings. And I would say Avi-Love not moving his mutas at all is a missed opportunity, because he could be potentially sniping even one drone. But I'm looking at the muta count for Zyki. Somehow it's already at 7, and it seemed like Avi-Love's muta count is like 5. So right now, I think Zyki has a slight muta lead. Maybe not, though. Oh, yeah, it's 8.
Yeah, 8. So this, maybe if he can engage with the Scourge, that would be a serious advantage. But right now, I think Avi, he's got the 5 supply lead, and every little bit of a lead in ZVZ in supply count is absolutely enormous, and it's particularly huge when you're talking about with Mutalisks. So Avi, I think, feeling comfortable enough with the unit count he's got to maybe go ahead and grab a natural expansion. He still has Zerglings on the ground. Zyki did do a great job of picking them off here and there, but here comes Zyki looking to get something done. Not quite able to get the shot off, but he is going to have a full engagement. He's going to see the superior amount, trying to back trail and engage this, and instead he's taking a lot of free damage in flight as he's trying to exit here. So those Mutalisks extremely weakened. In the meantime, Avi can just go ahead and sit back, and the Zerglings have broken through. In the meantime, there is the Sunken Colony to engage it, but they do manage to pick up a drone and get the interruption, so that's additional delayed mining time on Zyki's side of the map. So Avi doing everything here to push ahead bit by bit. Really feels like in ZVZ, it almost feels like you're pushing that boulder up the hill and just waiting for it to kind of tip over. But right now, he's secured that natural expansion. He's just waiting for a hatch. The second hatchery just now coming online for Zyki. He's putting down an evolution chamber at a necessity, which is never the situation you want to be in a ZVZ.
Yeah, Zyki's in big time trouble. He lost that drone. Now he loses a drone for the evolution chamber, which means he's going to lose another drone for the colony. So that's at least 3 workers ahead for Avi-Love, and he has the third hatch. He even has the second hatch too already completed. So he's got a huge lead. 40 supply to 30 doesn't sound like much, but in ZVZ, 10 supply lead, that is absolutely insane. Now Avi-Love is going to start taking his natural and gas, and he's going to go into colonies because I guess he realizes, hey, my lead is massive. The only way I could possibly lose is if you get a backstab and kill like my drone line. So I like this follow-up.
Maybe if he can find some overlords out in open field and pick one off really rapidly. The thing is where Avi's positioned his overlords, they're not vulnerable because there would just be a counterattack situation. But here's Sziky able to sneak in, able to get a one shot on a whole lot of drones and take down a colony. So sneaking back into this, able to do some damage, and that's something that Sziky needs to continually do. How did he have the game sense to know that he's just going to be able to peek in there? So first of all, he confirms the natural expansion is online. He isn't able to interrupt the gas just yet. I think he realizes this is the moment where he needs to press forward, especially seeing those spark colonies being dropped, but that is a huge amount of Scourge in the way. Able to pick off one. Avi needs to engage this, because if he can engage this and swat this down, I think that'll be, well, maybe not. Well, he needs to engage to defend this natural expansion. Sziky swinging around now towards the main. It doesn't look like Avi spotted it. There is a spark colony that's coming online, but it's not finished yet, and more drones getting picked off. So Sziky finding ways to get little bits of damage.
Oh, look at that moving shot from, oh my God, Scourge wiped out each other's Scourge. It's 8 versus 7. That was a game-winning fight right there for Avi-Love, but not confident in taking it. And Sziky's closing the supply gap. He killed like 6 workers there. That's how you recover in ZVZ, but at the same time, it was very risky. If you look at the vision on the map for both players, basically non-existent. A backstab would have been devastating to Sziky's mineral line if Mutas had flown there. Of course, he had the spore colony already set up, but Avi-Love's also came up at a decent timing. I noticed that neither player has any upgrades right now. And how the heck did Sziky get to a third hatch? I find this almost inconceivable that he was actually able to stabilize the game and get that up.
But this is, I have to say, at a certain point where I'm like, okay, 10 supply lead, natural expansion for Avi. Sziky is out of this match, and Avi is advancing to the, he's at least going to take game 1 and have that under his belt. But Sziky it's a testament to his game sense. It's a testament to Avi's, I don't know. He just found a way to do it. He went into that natural expansion, did huge amounts of damage, and then rolled right back to the main to get himself right back into this. And it looks like he was droning behind that. Now he's going for more. And all of a sudden it feels like the Mutalist count has equalized, and we got ourselves a ZVZ. Both players kind of shelling up and looking for macro advantages, and Sziky getting aggressive. He's down 10 again, so he's got to get some damage done. Baiting out, looks like the drone's coming up. He took one shot there. Now he's moving his Scourge in, not able to land there, but he's getting some pot shots on the Scourge on the opposite side. But he's continually testing this, still behind in the supply overall. I'm still going to give Avi the lead, but I got to say, Sziky's finding ways to slowly catch up, and it looks like he is moving this towards the mid game.
Yeah, I'm getting very nervous for Avi-Love. I realize he's got eco lead, of course, right now, but if you look at every Muta engagement, it's Sziky, the one that's the aggressor. Sziky killed off a bunch of Scourge before a fight even started, and then he just backed off. He's clearly got the superior Muta micro. He just needs the econ behind it. Now we're seeing so many spores come up, and we're seeing so many drones get made. I'm actually thinking that this might be a Hydra switch potentially, because those Mutas should have had at least armor by now if I was Avi-Love, because armor is the superior upgrade in ZVZ for Mutas. We can see Sziky's actually got +1 weapon, which is interesting because you almost never see that, at least not in my experience in ZVZ. Now again, Sziky's on the move to pick off units in the main. He used that link to scout the Natron. He saw all the Mutas were there.
Getting a big shot on one Mutalist, almost taking it out. I like how he's keeping the Scourge in the background as potentially an escape route. Avi currently holding the Mutalists at that natural expansion currently. So basically, he's just, okay, I'm going to shell up at both locations, but he's really droning up behind this. Avi, a little bit pinned. He's scared to move that air fleet between his natural and his main. The Zergling spots it, and that's getting the scouting information, which is triggering Sziky to potentially take shots along this rim. And there's just, although Avi has really, really done a good job with that spore colony placement, you can see there's not a lot of room to pick at anything. So he's trying to find something to sneak in and engage at either location, but both players droning up heavily. Avi still with a huge supply lead.
Yeah, but Sziky is the one taking the 4th base or the 3rd base. That's going to be 3 gas for him. And like I said, he's the one dictating the game with the Muta harassment. Maybe Avi-Love has more units right now. Well, okay, he definitely has more. He's got a 20 supply lead. I guess I didn't see that. I don't know exactly what the Muta count is. It looks like Sziky's doesn't have nearly as many mutalisks. It's like 12 maybe versus 16 or so for Avi-Love. Avi-Love's really stacking up the mutas, whereas it's more balanced here. It's like 12 mutas and 20 Scourge with this army from Sziky. Now Lings are already out on the map. If he can find the third base, that would be 100% a dead hatchery.
Yeah, I think this is kind of an emergency hatchery for Sziky. He's like, I gotta get that third gas to sneak into it. Scourge getting in between. I think one of them landed, but Avi playing very cautiously. I think he realizes he's still in the lead. I think he definitely knew he had that natural expansion up early. Now level 1 armor has come online. I think Sziky with that +1 weapons, he was hoping to pick off Scourge here and there, whittle down some things in between. But those Zerglings, it looks like they're streaming across the minimap. They're hunting for that third. The Overlord spots them. So potentially Mutalisks can get in position. But let's see if Avi goes for a backstab with his own Mutalisks. Yeah, so you can see that huge fleet moving out. This is the problem with taking a third in ZVZ, is it leaves you very exposed to this sort of attack.
Yeah, I think you have to backstab here. And if you notice there, the Lings actually delayed, like what happens in a lot of games when harassment is going to take place, and you see Sziky instantly turned around. He's moved his mutas into position, and that was the perfect move there. Now Avi-Love's counterattack did no damage, and it's still a supply lead for Avi-Love, but now it's only 15, and he still doesn't know about mid left. The Lings did not check there. When the mutas get over here, Spore might already be done, and Avi-Love's going to need to make a decision. Do I fight? Or do I turn around? And just based on what I've seen with the mutas, he's probably going to turn around. Yeah, he is. He's just going to take a third base himself.
Yeah, interesting decision on Avi. I think he realizes that third's there. Managed to get an Overlord, which is huge in ZVZ. So he's slowing. So he's it looks like some Scourge able to land Overlords to equalize that a little bit. So both players in the red. However, Avi still with the huge economic lead, and we're seeing late game ZVZ out of Avi once again. But rather than opting to engage and take out that third and potentially open himself up to a counterattack at some other location or lose a straight up muta fight, he's like, I'm just going to go ahead and continue to grow this macro lead. I'm going to go ahead and grab that third base. But that does give room for Sziky to go ahead and mine at that third and potentially pull ahead, or at least close the gap a little bit as far as these engagements. And also, in a lot of these engagements, Avi's been throwing out Zerglings and losing Zerglings, and those things pile up over time.
Well, I noticed Sziky has 1-1 upgrades. I think Avi-Love is still at 0-0. Maybe he has 1 upgrade now. Okay, he does have the armor upgrade. That's the most important one. But what Sziky has not spotted is Hive. And no joke, if you get even like 3 Devourers, all of a sudden, mutas just instantly die. They just get blown up by those acid spores, because they take additional damage for each acid spore on top of them. I mean, it's actually incredible how fast mutas die. So Sziky's got to be careful. And actually, my favorite play in Hive ZVZ is the Burrowed Defiler, which I saw in one of the most epic ZVZs I've ever seen. Jaedong versus Yellow. Yes, I said Yellow, the actual legend, the old school player, pulling out Burrowed Defiler play versus Jaedong. So I hope we get to see that.
Yeah, if you can hit a plague with Defiler, that's basically a single plague is game ending. But yeah, if you can get Greater Spire up and get a Devourer out, it really equalizes things. The Zerglings now making their way this direction, knowing the position. I think he already knew that this third base was the location, but he's absolutely confirmed it now. The Mutalisks pulling up. It looks like he's trying to get a drone kill, isn't quite able to get a drone kill. There is a Sunk Colony at position right there. But currently still, I'm going to say it's a supply lead for Avi. It's a big supply lead for Avi, but I'm not going to say it's insurmountable at this stage. Like, Avi's, I think, still in firm control. He's got that Greater Spire lead. The Hive still is not yet finished on this side. It looks like some Zerglings are flooding into that natural expansion. It looks like they're able to get 1 drone, but not able to get a lot else. But I still feel like Avi is doing absolutely everything right in this passive play. He's got level 2 upgrade now on those Mutalisks, and he's just sitting back and macroing up, maybe even moving to go ahead and grab a 4th.
Oh my
Sziky
God.
looking to engage.
If he kills this Greater Spire, oh no, this is what Avi-Love's relying on. It's going to get focused down, and Sziky on the other side of the map has Hive coming. Look at this. He picks it off and he just runs away. And now what does Avi-Love do? He doesn't know that Hive is coming, but Sziky, of course, knows that. So now Sziky knows that he must... interception.
Wow. So a huge shift in events. Sziky all of a sudden, just next level timing, moves up, takes out the Greater Spire as it's finishing. The Spire is down. That means no more Mutalisks are being created for Avi in this time period. That's giving Sziky a window to build more Mutalisks to get his own Greater Spire up before Sziky has his. Plus, he's got the additional base in the background. That was a big swing. So even though Avi still has the overall supply lead, the army basically the upgrades and the potential upgrade with the Greater Spire in particular is equalizing things a bit. And on top of that, we've seen a lot of resources being spent. We see a Defiler Mound being dropped by Avi to potentially get Plague out there. But I gotta say, Sziky just showing, this is, I guess, Zerg players, take note. This is how you get back in a match when you're going into late game. We are gonna see yet another epic late game match with Avi-Love and ZVZ.
Yeah, and how did we get here? More Scourge Connect. I mean, that just eliminated 2 mutas there. Every muta, of course, counts, especially when you're the guy that does not have Devourers. And Sziky's Greater Spire is about to finish. So Sziky killing the Greater Spire, he knows his window. He needs to morph, I would say, at least 3 Devourers. 5 is game ending. Those things have like infinity armor. They're not going to die before they dish out the acid spores. Avi-Love confirms a 4th base at top right. Now, I have to say that's a bit ambitious to take both sides of the... Oh, that's not a base. I thought it was a hatchery. But
just some Zerglings.
Yeah.
Looks like, and also there's the Sunken, a handful of Zerglings to go ahead and defend that, which is going to open up those mules to engage. There is a window here where, yeah, there's going to be a Devourer that's morphed for Sziky, and he's going to have space where potentially can engage. The Zerglings, a lot of Zerglings now at that third, trying to concentrate that something pulling down. I think there's plenty of Zerglings to go ahead and engage and wipe them out. So that gets cleared out. Some Zerglings somehow sneaking into the main, though, for Avi. They're getting scouting information, at least there. I think there might have been a counter Zergling or 2, so the mule's being drawn back, and this is, I think, a good play. So confirms the Greater Spire, but this is also narrowing that window where Sziky can get the Devourers out and force an engagement. Avi going ahead and grabbing a 4th now here at the 6 o'clock location.
Well, I saw Avi-Love spin like 400 gas, and that's making me think that this could be like 2 Defilers and potentially Plague upgrade, but not the case. He's still going to go into that Greater Spire. And what's funny is the Greater Spire is put in the exact same spot, so it could easily get picked off again. You can see Sziky already has Devourers morphed. I feel like he's missing the opportunity to go and attack with it right now. Instead, he's just going to use it defensively, which is fine, but it's not like Avi-Love has attacked him all game long. So Avi-Love's just going to defend for longer, and now he's just actually going to be up a base. He's taking bottom middle.
So this is critical. I think Avi, what he might have been in the background, has gotten that adrenal upgrade on the spawning pool, because he's got Zerglings with +1 weapons, it looked like, which means if he can sneak by with these Zerglings at any location, even in one of these massive engagements, those Zerglings are going to shred bases rather rapidly. So he's got a Defiler out. I assume he's got Consume and Plague ready to go, because he's moving it out on the map. The Zerglings, as far as heads-up fight, that should be an advantage for Avi. And you can just see them just shredding the Zerglings on the opposite side between the +1 with the +1 weapons. But also, if a Dark Swarm's dropped, Sziky isn't going to be able to defend. It's going to be Zerglings that are outmatched on the ground, and the Mutalisk is not able to hit in the air.
He doesn't have Burrow. You have to get Burrow if you play like this. Okay, he's going to save it with the Dark Swarm, but oh man, showing the Defiler is huge. Now Sziky knows that he can't really be anywhere on the map with the mutas, because it could potentially run into Burrowed Plague. And Ziki's going to have to be careful, because I know for a fact he does not have his own Defiler mount right now. Maybe that's going up in his main, but I would really love to see Burrowed Defiler on the right side of the map, where Ziki's been attacking all game long and try and catch some mutas, but now that he sees the Defiler, he's not moving at all.
Zerglings attacking multiple locations, really pinning Sziky back. Sziky moving out with this huge attack force now. He's got that 4th up. He's not yet mining gas there, and that's the critical bit right there. And huge fleet moving out to both deny the 4th and potentially put pressure on the 3rd. That looks like the Devourers are on retreat, are lagging behind the rest of that army. Now it's Sziky sending out a lot of Zerglings to try to draw that army back. And this is turning it, this is a huge army versus huge army. I think this is going to come down to one big micro fight, but between that, I think Avi might have the advantage, because he does have that Defiler out on the ground, a handful of Zerglings able to potentially equalize things right here, but he keeps losing these Defilers, but those handful of Mutalisks are going to get picked off, and right now Sziky needs to preserve them. But if you look at the supply count all of a sudden, despite being in the red, things are looking very close.
Yeah, and I'm starting to wonder, did Avi-Love ever see the Yellow vs. Jadon game? It's the only game I've seen playing Defilers, but the fact there's no Burrow usage at all makes me worry that he hasn't seen. Now, he's going to catch all of these cocoons, but he runs into a massive shot from 4 Devourers, and you can see he has no intention to commit to that. You have to run from devourer shots. Like, you just have to get the hell out of there ASAP. Otherwise, you see your supply plummet in an instant. And there was a massive morph there. I think if those 7 or so cocoons are, oh my God,
wow.
10 devours.
So we got 10 devourers on the side of the map for Sziky. We've got the zerglings with the +1 weapons underneath. The defilers are the X factor for Avi-Love, but he hasn't managed to, keep them alive as they've been moving across the map. He's moving out, looks like potentially to attack that inside 12 o'clock location and maybe do a secondary prong, but he's got to worry about this 6 o'clock location. The defense is completely across the map. He's trying to get back, and this might be the swing moment for Sziky. He's concentrating absolutely everything. There are enough Mutalisks with enough upgrades, but that really doesn't do anything anymore. The Zerglings also engaging at the other location, so it looks like this hatchery might be lost. And now what does Avi do?
He just loses the hatch, and he was across the map. He doesn't even get a backstab to the 4th base because he didn't know it existed. So instead, he just loses a base basically for free. He's going to lose a defiler, which is obviously gas intensive, and he killed no mutas. He killed no devourers. And for the first time all game, Sziky's the one in the lead.
This match is insane. 4 base versus 4 base. 7 supply difference that keeps wavering between like 7 and 5. You've got adrenal upgraded zerglings, some defilers absolutely everywhere, a huge devourer fleet on the opposite side. And right now, Avi's got to go ahead and he's grabbing an interior additional hatchery, but he's got to find expansions. And Sziky slowly climbing the lead, but it's anybody's match at this stage.
Yeah, I think the only way Avi-Love can win, well, I don't know, because I didn't think Sziky could win this game, but he's made a game out of it. I think really the only way he's going to win is if the Defiler connects Plague. There's not even an equal amount of Devourers anymore for Avi-Love versus Zyky's Devourer count. The Devourer count for Sziky is 10. I think it's like 6 for Avi-Love. Okay, it's a little higher than I thought, 8. But still, Sziky's going to win this fight now. And also, there's more Lings for Avi-Love. So that means, oh my gosh, I see a Wiggly Boy for Sziky. It used up all its energy though. Oh, cannot lose your Devourers like that, Sziky, but he did just consume. That's a Plague. Hits a lot of Mutalisks. Now, which one has the better comp? I think actually Sziky, or I think Avi-Love's going to win this fight.
Yeah, I think Avi-Love managed to play, so he expended some Plague early. There's some additional consumes going in the background to maybe equalize this. Some more Plague being dropped. It's hard to tell what Plague. Keep in mind, Plague hits your own units, but it looks like Sziky at the end is going to sneak out of this with a superior amount of Mutalisks, and that might be sufficient to completely control the game. Zerglings now flooding across the map from Sziky. He smells blood in the water, looking for counterattacks. There are 3 Mutalisks trying to thin the herd, but the additional Mutalisks that have been weakened, you can see how little help they have across that group, plus a Defiler moving in, and buildings eat Plague on top of that. The Zerglings now going ahead, they're like, forget the natural expansion, let's go ahead and focus on that third. There are Mutalisks overhead trying to prevent that. Also, a single Sunken Colony being taken out there at the 6 o'clock, just confirming that additional third base isn't there. But now we have Defilers moving into bases where they can drop Plague and everything else, and a huge Plague at the third.
He hits a Spore in a Sunken Colony and the hatchery. I don't know if you see the supply, Jiggity. It was 150 a minute ago, and it's 60 for Avi-Love. This is why you see, well, first off, this is why you almost never see late game Hive play in ZVZ, because it's just so ridiculously punishing. And a single Plague and obviously Devour combo, I mean, mutas just instantly get decimated. And it's just an overwhelming lead for Sziky now. Avi-Love basically got starved, and he has no way to rebuild an army that can stand toe-to-toe with Sziky's. That's going to be another Plague hitting the Devourers.
Yeah, I think one thing I love that Sziky did is he had a lot of Mutalisks, he had a big supply lead, but keep in mind a lot of those units were very, very weak because of all of the Plague from the previous exchange. So instead, pouring forward, now he's got a little bit of regeneration, some fresh Mutalisks to go ahead and engage. There's Devourers, and this is just huddling up, trying to desperately defend, but I think this is an overwhelming amount of Mutalisks now diving into the third base. That's Spore Colony desperately trying to morph, but Zerglings are running down, and this is the GG moment right here, as Sziky behind at various points in the match, able to find a way forward and wipe out the third base. What a play by Sziky. Just incredible Zerg versus Zerg. And honestly, if I'm Avi going into the next match, I got to be throwing up my hands, because he was in a really strong position at so many points of that match. Just to have Sziky peak, that Greater Spire kill was huge. The game sense to know to go in, first of all, to catch it right before it morphed, and also just knowing where it was at. Just Sziky next level in that game. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I have to agree. If you're not going to win the ZVZ in a game like that, where you have a 25 supply lead and supplies are only at like 60, I don't know what else you're looking for. And I was getting worried the whole time when Avi-Love had absolutely no movement with the mutas. I was thinking, oh no, you're just going to let this guy dictate the pace of the game. He's going to control the flow. And he's just going to catch up. And that's exactly what happened. And then, of course, picking off the Spire was amazing. But I have to say, really, Avi-Love did drop the ball where he had Defiler advantage. Like, if he had Burrow, and, Sziky was constantly moving his mutas. If he even had, like, 2 Defilers set up, one at the bottom to potentially catch mutas there, or one on the right side to potentially catch there while burrowed, he could have hit a Plague, and then all of a sudden, those mutas cannot be used for basically the rest of the game. So big misstep there from Avi-Love. He's got me thinking like, okay, well, what do I do now? Because I could not possibly have gotten a bigger advantage in the early game.
This is the thing. I almost want to say that it wasn't a misstep from Avi-Love. It was Sziky finding opportunities and pushing his way back into that game. That was him. That Greater Spire kill was huge. Also, the movement where he was basically cutting off, like with his Mutalisk micro and the Scourge and the engagements. Even though Avi had the superior Mutalisk fleet, he was cutting him off between the 2 expansions and just finding little gaps to pick off an Overlord, to take a targeted shot on a Mutalisk, to expend a Scourge here and there. And Avi was like, okay, I can throw these Zerglings out here. I know I still have a lead. I'm going to throw these Zerglings out here. I can throw these Zerglings out here, and kept losing them for absolutely nothing. And bit by bit, crawling, it just felt like, it's one of those, it almost felt like one of those epic movies where it's like, the guy like crawling up the hill with Sziky there. But I honestly feel, I don't know that Avi-Love necessarily lost that match. I feel like Sziky won it. He just pulled it out of Avi-Love's hands. Avi-Love doing, I think, what you want to do in Zerg versus Zerg, which is when you have the lead, grow that lead and make it overwhelming, and then find the opportunities. I think Sziky's defense, particularly when he grabbed that third and just keeping certain positions where I guess if I was going to say Avi-Love dropping one corner is there was the opportunity where he had his natural expansion established, where Sziky was trying to take that risky third, and Avi-Love wasn't then taking the opportunity. The ball was in his court, and he didn't do a lot of things there. But Sziky, I think, did everything point from point to not just, that was just stupendous. That's all I have to say. I think that might be one of the greatest Zerg versus Zerg comebacks. That was just a great Zerg versus Zerg game. And maybe that's just what Avi-Love, he's just one of those guys. You put him in a Zerg versus Zerg, you're going to get an epic match.
Maybe so. Every time I see Avi-Love, his games are just quite off the wall and always surprising, even in CVP too, like versus Oyachi and Dewalt. But now he's 0-1. And if I'm him, I'm feeling pretty depressed about the first game because you let it go. You let it slip. Of course, as you stated, Sziky won the game. Like he just made the moves. When he came in, picked off drones and picked off the Scourge, and Avi-Love got off no hits with mutas himself, I was thinking, oh no. Well, it's going to be Avi-Love's pick now. So at least he's got that in his favor. And let me bring up the map so I can start theorizing what we may see. I think 2-player map could be good, like Butter or Eclipse, but at the same time, I'm not saying Avi-Love thinks this, but let's say maybe he thinks Sziky is the superior player. Do you really want to give this guy a 100% chance to scout you first? I guess the answer is yes. So that's what it's going to be. Our second map is going to be Butter. Let's see if Sziky can close out the series 2-0 or if Avi-Love can stage a comeback. So in the top right, it is our blue Zerg, Sziky.
In the bottom right, as the red Zerg, we have Avi-Love.
Well, 2-player map, so both players going to find each other first, obviously, and not be confused on the opener. Avi-Love had a great opener with the speedlings and really caught Sziky off guard and eliminate all the link. In fact, I thought the game was just over right there. Now, what do you think as far as openers? Do you think we may see like 12 hatch, or do you think maybe we're probably just going to see this similar opener?
I wouldn't be shocked to see both players go for an overpool. It looks like Sziky has built that Overlord first. It looks like we're seeing some resources being saved. The drone cancellation actually for Avi. to potentially go for a 10 hatch. Actually, I would not be shocked to see a 10 hatch here from Avi.
Well, drone is going out. We may see that, and that is what it's going to be. Meanwhile, it is an overpool from Sziky. Whoa. What's that drone doing? Okay.
Drone looks like it's
going to build a hatch there.
So this is interesting play. So knowing that it's a 2-player map, knowing that he's going to get scouted, he's going for the 9 hatch, and he's going to try to disguise what he's got.
Yeah. Do you see the path from the Overlord? Sziky's going to the Nat. He's not going to the main. So he's trying to see here. He's going to see there's no hatch and probably just keep his lings in his base.
Yeah, and this is a dangerous situation because when you're going up against, there are opportunities to, wow, this is genius play. This is some next level. This is what Avi-Love does.
Yeah.
This is some next level stuff in ZVZ because not only did he not plant so not only did he go for a 10 hatch, he planted it at an off location. And usually in ZVZ, what you want to know is like, okay, based on the timings of everything that's coming in, I know that this is what's happening. But everything that's going to be looking at from Z's point of view, this is going to look like a normal, potentially mirrored build, maybe 12 pool, maybe basically some sort of pool opener with no expansion. But Sziky is going to, this is going to be nuts. So now Ziky's taking that natural expansion, and we're probably going to see a ling flood from Avi to follow this up.
Well, I wish we could get in the brain of Sziky because, of course, he's going to have the Overlord into the main at a decent timing. The question to me is, will it get there in time to see lair? Because if he sees there's no Nat and he sees there's no lair, in my head, I'd be thinking, what the heck is going on? And usually when you're getting thrown off like this, I mean, it can only be an all-in. And now I guess he's going to know it's going to be an all-in because, one, there's no lair. He's not mining gas at all. But I mean, this could have been a hatch in the main, so I'm not too sure how well this is actually going to work.
He's hiding 2 Zerglings back to only show 4 here. So he's hiding the Zergling count, and it's basically a race against that Overlord moving in slowly from Sziky to kind of scout and see the Zerglings behind this. Overlord or Zergling speed has been upgraded, and so he just potentially maybe with eyes could see this. And Sziky moving out, which is the worst thing he can do right this second, to be engaging, because basically it's going to be an even amount of Zerglings versus an even amount of Zerglings from that hatchery. I think now he's backing up. Yeah. Maybe he has eyes on it now, but he needs to get Sunken Colonies and additional defenses down immediately because it is going to be nothing but Zerglings from Avi from here on out. There's the creep colonies, but did Avi pull it off? We'll see. It's going to come down to a lot of Zergling micro here. Yeah, like I said, Ziky's going to know what it is because he comes in the main, sees there's no hatch there. He's not mining gas. What else could it possibly be? So here comes Avi-Love. Did he hit a crucial window or opportunity to take down Sziky? I don't think so. The creep colony is a nice place where he can get a decent Sim City, but that's a great trade right there from Avi-Love. However, look at the ling count dwindling for Avi-Love. Sunken Colony completes, and now Ziky's gonna have his Nat, which, I mean, I guess technically Avi-Love. There's
unfortunately,
GG.
Just GG's.
Yeah, he would have had maybe one more opportunity to get a big bunch of Zerglings and try to force it, but he knew that the layer was coming. That was a great read on Ziky's part, and huge. Yeah, big brain plays there, knew exactly what he was up against. And Avi's actually stated that previously. He's like, I'm going to do something more unorthodox. And then it's going to be up to my opponent to kind of adjust and know what they're dealing with. And Sziky showing that level of skill and experience, knowing exactly what he was up against. And the perfect read, getting that Sunken Colony down in time. And actually also fanning out his Zerglings behind that, letting them take the additional shots so he can build. That was a great play from Sziky. So Avi going to move to the loser's bracket. And I don't envy, I assume we might see a Dewalt Sziky match here in the winners, which could be absolutely incredible. But right now we got Xin going up against Dewalt in a PvP.
Yeah, so like you said, it's gonna be PvP. We've got Xin going up against Dewalt, and I went and rewatched the games of Xin in the earlier stages, and the Ghost of Dark series was pretty good. Ghost of Dark had an opportunity to take down Xin, but in the end, Xin's the one that makes it through. But of course, we've got our monster Dewalt. He's going to be the one to be, or the favorite here in this matchup, I think. Not too sure of Xin's level, but Dewalt a little bit better than Ghost of Dark. So he's going to have to really pull out all the stops here to take him down. But I have to say, Sziky looks amazing right now. But regardless, whoever goes into the winner's match or loser's match, they're going to have a tough time because Avi-Love is very strong ZVP, and we know Sziky is an absolute monster in all the matchups. But before we get into our PvP, we're going to go into a break, and then we'll come back and find out who's going to take down the PvP series and face off versus Sziky in the winner's match. We're back, guys. We just completed the first series of the day. The first game was sick, absolutely bonkers. Second game, interesting play by Avi-Love, but Sziky a little bit too strong there, read the game perfectly. But now we're going into a PvP. We've got Xin versus Dewalt. Ziggity, give me some predictions here. What do you think we might see?
Dewalt's tough to beat. That's all I can say. I really like Xing's decision making. If he can, that's the thing though, is Dewalt, when it comes to micromanagement, when it comes to map presence, he's brutal. He's really brutal. He really is. I mean, when you're talking about best players that are outside of Korea, people say, yeah, Dewalt, Bonnet, and that's the short list. So he's got his work cut out for him. I really want to see what he can pull off, honestly. But the thing is we know he's a commentator player guy. So, and there's a ton of footage of Dewalt even recently out there with the race championships, with BSL, with everything. So I think there's opportunities to maybe find a window to pull something out. So I want to see what he can do here. But honestly, if I was in a situation, I'd be kind of like, man, I got to play out of my mind to take on Dewalt.
Yeah, and it's not like Dewalt is a uncommon, like an unknown, right? Like, I'm sure Xin knows Dewalt. Like, he knows that he streams. He'll be able to find those VODs easily. And when you stream, it is hard to hide your builds, right? Because you show everything. It's not like you stream and you're like, yeah, I'm just not going to play real today. Like, that doesn't happen. Like, as a competitive player, you're not going to do that. I do have to say, though, of all the matchups, I think PvP is the one that Dewalt is weakest at. And I say that because there have been so many games in BSL where players like Gosudark or players like Tech a couple seasons ago really gave Dewalt a run for his money. There was a game on Eclipse between him and Tech, and I thought for sure Tech was going to take that game. In the end, I think Dewalt ended up winning it, but it was extremely close. We're going to look at the profiles. Of course, Xin, a new player into BSL, along with the majority of the Chinese players. And then, of course, we get to see Dewalt, which in general, he places very high, but you can see every now and then something goes wrong for him even in the early group stages. You see in BSL season 12, he got knocked out extremely early, but then follows it up with a second place finish.
And kind of going by the transitive property, Xin went through Gosudark in the previous round. So potentially, yeah, we could see. And honestly, VVP is one of the more volatile matchups. And there are opportunities to, especially with our Templar builds, with doing sneaky things with reavers, there are opportunities to pull out upsets. But I still, got to favor Dewalt going into this match. But if Xin wins, that's the other thing though, is Xin is kind of a question mark. We don't have a lot of footage on him. We don't have a lot of, we've seen him play a little bit, but as far as known entities, as far as known build orders, we don't know. So that could be a huge advantage for him as well.
Yeah, at least to us, he's an unknown. Dewalt may have done some show matches with some Chinese players that I'm unaware of. I know he gets a lot of show matches versus Koreans, or at least gets practice games at least. With all that said, our players are ready. So let's get into game one of this PvP series. It's Dewalt versus Xin on Monopoly. Okay, in the bottom middle, our Chinese Protoss, it is Xin.
And in the upper left-hand corner, as the blue Protoss, we have Dewalt.
Well, Monopoly not in the map pool, or in the ladder map pool, I mean. So I have not played this a lot, but from a lot of the games that I've seen, especially in ASL, this map, if you are ever caught out of position, it is extremely brutal to get back and try and defend your base. I mean, you even saw it when Avi-Love was across the map at top middle and got counterattacked by Sziky. So it could be another similar scenario where it comes down to one big attack from somebody catching the other player out of position to seal the victory here.
And one thing that we saw extra high latency being said immediately, one X factor here is going to be that this is probably played in a fairly difficult turn rate, which means potentially Dewalt's fantastic micromanagement with zealots and things like that. That's not to say, I don't know what Xine's level of micro is comparatively, but if there is a micro differential, that could be negated in the turn rate. So what might play a larger factor is just flat tactics and positioning, like you said. And knowing what I've seen from Xine's play, up to this stage, those have been flawless, and I've actually really liked his decision making just across the board. So lag might equalize this actually a little bit.
Lag, the great equalizer. Well, we see similar openers from both players. No gas just yet for Xin. That's going to be the gas right there. But at the same time, he's going to go for a quick scout. Let's see the direction he gets. This map has that tiny choke, so if he goes the wrong direction, Dewalt may be able to get up a Zealot in time, but he is going to find Dewalt in the first position, and actually, surprisingly, I would say Dewalt's not scouting at all, so he's probably going to be in the dark the whole game.
So yeah, it looks like even build orders to start off, so both players dropping the cybernetic score, but yeah, Dewalt actually not even sending out a probe to scout, just keeping probes in base currently. So odd decision making. It's like, I'm not even going to bother scouting my opponent. That is going to give him an economic lead overall, but in the meantime, yeah, basically Xin's going to have all of the information, and again, with that micro being potentially less of a factor, having that extra information could be huge in the early game.
Yep, now I'm looking at the mineral positions. You know, pylon blocking is a common thing in PvP. I see there's a couple areas, but doesn't look like the probe's going to actually find a successful pylon block. Now in Dewalt's main, he did just spend 50 gas. I think the same thing for Xin.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah, it looks like I don't think there's been a Zealot produced on the opposite side yet. We are seeing range being upgraded from both players. Oh, sorry, there is a Zealot. So basically dead even build orders. Supply is dead even currently. The one difference here is that probe was not sent out by Dewalt, so he has 0 scouting information, and he's zero scouting information on his opponent, and he's been able to mine with that probe a little bit longer. That's not something that's going to win the game, and honestly, I would rather have the scouting information than have the extra minerals.
Well, we see range is already up and going for both players. Sheen's is slightly faster if I was paying attention. Supply is pretty much identical. Oh, okay, there's the first deviation. I was wondering how Dewalt had so much more gas. And that's because Xin is actually going to set up for a fast expansion. And we saw actually Ghost of Dark go for this. I think it was Ghost of Dark. Can't remember exactly. But it did not work out in the end. He just didn't have the favorable trades. But Dewalt's going to be the more careful player. He's going just for 1 gate robo.
Yeah, so he's going to go for 1 gate robo. That is going to put him economically behind. It looks like he's going to drop a 2nd gate right there. So
3 gate.
Is he going to? You think he's going to 3 gate behind this? Yeah, he's setting up for a 3 gate. He's got that probe in position, so he wants to get aggressive. And I actually like that decision on this map in particular, because even if you don't manage to break or bust the natural expansion, get a lot of damage there, that still gives you a lot of troops in the mid game, and securing the 3rd because of just how the 3rd is on Monopoly, if you can get a lot of troops out, it puts you in a good position from there.
Yeah, and I like the fact that he's going for the 3 gate. This might even be 4 gate from Xin. But if you look at the main is huge. There's so many drop angles you could go from. So you're going to need a lot of Dragoons across the entirety of your base, because we know a Reaver can shut down a probe line like no other. Now, Xin, even though he got the intel in the early stages, he doesn't know what the follow-up is going to be. All he saw was 1 gate, so really it could be anything. I would say anything other than Citadel, because delayed Citadel, I mean, that's a pretty uncommon follow-up. So I really do like his 3 gate follow-up, but when you play this, you're going to have to get out into the map. You cannot get bottled up and face 3 gate plus Reaver. Otherwise, Dewalt is just going to endlessly hit you from downtown with those Scarabs. There's the Nexus, so we're going to have a transfer. And Dewalt's going to need to punish this pretty soon. Oh, man, is he going 3-gate Ob into 3-gate Nexus? This feels like a build order win for Xin now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is Xin, he put down, there was a slight window where there was going to be a slight Dragoon advantage for Dewalt, but even then it was going to come down to micro. And again, with the high turn rate, it's going to be a challenge to execute and make that lead win. But I think Xin's got the build order victory, unless he does this, walks into an uphill battle, is losing a lot of damage on that Zealot up in front, and this might be a turnaround situation, but Xin just needs to hold this high ground, and I think he's going to be okay.
Yeah, I would say luckily for him, it's Monopoly where Dewalt has to come up a high ground too. But that was such a weird move to make when you're the one building the Nexus first. And we know he just transferred. So those probes didn't even get the econ advantage kicking in just yet. So for him to feel like he needed to move out on the map, very, very weird. Now, Dewalt has goon advantage and he has zealot advantage. One goon already down. That one's probably going to fall. Luckily, Xin has a cycle of goons pop out right now, but the zealot can soak up so many hits. It's still 6 versus 7 goons plus the zealot. It looks like the zealot's already gone. Now, Dewalt may have misstepped. Look at the micro from both players. It's 5 versus 6 now. Now, Dewalt has the advantage.
Yeah, Dewalt, this is the gap he's got to have, is he's got to push it right now if he's going to win it, because otherwise the economy is going to kick in for Xin right now. Great focus fire on both unit players. You can see them microing a little bit away. Xin now up a Dragoon, but he's got one shot on that right side Dragoon. That's been taken out, but it looks like Xin, yeah, with the build order, he's able to hold because it's 3-gate versus 3-gate, and his economy is now kicking in. So Xin moving now into the mid game with a big sizable lead. He's also tagging on a robotic support bay behind this.
Yeah, and support bay timing is pretty similar. Of course, the waltz is done, but by the time the Reaver pops out and gets across the map, I'm sure a Reaver will be out for Xin. And you can saw he was floating like 800 minerals during that whole fight. So once he puts down even just 2 more gates, he's going to have insane production. Okay, maybe the Reaver won't be out in time because the shuttle's already done. Reaver is already done. And we don't see a shuttle just yet for Xin at all. Reaver's still not out either. So this might be the window that Dewalt was looking for. Xin realizes that, hey, a likely follow-up is going to be the Reaver. So he's putting down that pylon to soak up some shots.
He's got to, if Xin defends, he wins. If Dewalt busts, that is an opportunity to get back in this match. But right now, he still hasn't dropped that natural expansion. He's going to be able to clear out that pylon to the front. Nice spread from Xin, inviting this. He sees that Reaver up there, making sure those Dragoons are spread out so they're not going to take a sweet shot, but he can just delay and get his own Reaver out. Pot shot on the right, trying to bait that Reaver in. The Zealot marching forward, the Dragoons flooding to the right for Dewalt. He's going to get some shots on those Dragoons on that left side, but Dewalt needs to hurry up.
Dewalt has an overwhelming amount of goons, and the Reaver can have access onto the probe line if it wants. There's a Scarab shot that's going to force the goons back, but it connects onto 2 of the goons. Now it's like 10 goons versus just 2. Xin, unfortunately, his Reaver's a little bit too late, and like I said, he needed to get out into the center of the map and take an engagement instead of getting bottled up like this. That's really good Scarab shots from Xin, but he's going to lose his Nexus now.
Wow, so the Nexus might go down. Nice micro from Dewalt, particularly in that lag, and taking a huge shot on his Reaver without the shuttle protection. A Dragoon trying to get in the way, but right now things resetting. Dewalt actually, with that 3-gate Dragoon, going to be able to sit outside this natural expansion, continue to pelt shots. GG right there. Wow, so Dewalt, honestly, when I was looking at this, I was like, I don't know, I think Xin was going to have a build order victory.
Seriosity is sub a Gosu for 5 months.
I thought he was going to have just a straight build order win.
Chad.
Oh no, we're going through the warp here with the Star Trek style. But I thought this was just going to be a straight up build order victory. But Dewalt he's so experienced, knows the timing, the micro as well in the middle engagements, just to keep the Dragoon count equalized, even when he was down and full Dragoons, microing the damaged Dragoon back. But that engagement, particularly that natural expansion, she just needed to hold, and it looked like he wanted to buy time for that Reaver, and instead Dewalt, realizing this is my moment, this is when I need to push in, and did so, taking out that natural expansion. Just great play on his part.
Yeah, and he had to go right when he did, because as you saw, the Reaver was, a 30 seconds delayed from Xin. If he had gotten the Reaver out, it could have been a totally different fight. Of course, he doesn't have the shuttle still, so I think Dewalt still would have had the advantage, but it would have looked completely different. I have to say, I think Xin, I don't know about the Reaver follow-up, man, because it's so late in comparison to Waltz. I actually was expecting to see him follow up with like 5 or 6 gate and just have an overwhelming amount of goons. Like, goons can beat 3-gate Reaver if you have enough of them, of course. And I really thought that that's what he was going to go for. So I was surprised to see the support bay, but I mean, he knows P and Protoss way better than I do. But for now, that seemed like a really slick timing from Dewalt. He knew that he needed to go right then, and he has the killer instinct. You can see it right there when he had to. And that's going to put Dewalt up 1-0. So now it's going to be Xin's pick. And now we get into what I always like to do, which is think about what the map is going to be. And we have a lot of options. We've got 2-player maps, Butter and Eclipse. We've got maps where, we got crazy ones. We got Metaverse. We could potentially see that. We don't know Xin's style. If he's somebody that plays off the wall, I wouldn't even be surprised to see him pick Metaverse.
Yeah. Well, actually, what I almost want to see is a turnaround. So you see him go into like a map like Metaverse and then have him open up 3-gate and see how it goes from there. That's what if I was in his brain, I think that's what I would try to execute here. But I would be frustrated knowing that, especially looking at the replay, seeing that there was a build order advantage and just seeing that the timing was off and that Dewalt was just able to execute better and take out that natural expansion. There were opportunities to win that game. And I agree, maybe fourth gate even before, maybe fourth gate and then robotics facility or something along those lines. And I do think maybe the mistake is giving Dewalt the room to just encroach into that natural expansion, particularly when he had that reaver. Because if he had maybe taken the fights and done some stutter stepping and not seeded the ramp in the middle, it might have been a different match altogether.
Yeah, well, we have our map pick. It's going to be Eclipse. So let's get into game 2, see if Xin can bring it back to 1-1.
Yep.
So in the top right, our Russian Protoss, it is Dewalt.
And in the bottom left, we have Xin as the red Protoss.
Yeah, so PvP on Eclipse. Oh, I love it. And I hope we get to see some proxy shenanigans, but Dewalt doesn't strike me as somebody like that. And from what I've seen from Xin, doesn't seem like he's going to go for that, but secretly hoping that we get something like that or potentially a 2-gate opener.
This is honestly not the map I would have chosen going up against Dewalt. Knowing Dewalt's experience level, knowing how intelligent a player he is, I would have chosen, Metaverse or one of the more, map where you can mix it up. And I'm wondering if this is just, I don't know. But Eclipse, it's one of those maps that everybody's played, everybody's known. It's been on the ladder forever. And so basically what Xi's saying is like, I think I can maybe take you in a heads-up match where it's just like straight play to straight play on. And so like, no jokes. I'm just going to try to out muscle you. And that, I don't see that happening against Dewalt.
Well, even if you don't think that, I'm not saying Xin doesn't think that, but even if you don't think that, sometimes you just got to play with what you've practiced, right? So, for example, a lot of people, like in WCG, in ones that I played, or talking to friends that ended up playing versus Koreans, they're like, oh, I'm playing Jaedong. What do? Do I cheese them? It's like, well, do you even practice cheese? No. It's like, well, how's that going to possibly work then? So even if you don't think you can go toe-to-toe, sometimes you just got to go with what you plan. And I actually agree with you, what you said in the break. The 3-gate, like if you look at the micro from Xin in the 3-gate versus 3-gate battle, he beat Dewalt in that particular fight in the early stages. So I actually would like to see him go for 3-gate himself. And if Dewalt gets out onto the map, like he did last time, where Xin doesn't have a nexus behind it and it's more goon heavy, Xin might just snowball the game from the initial fight. So I'm actually hoping to see Xin follow up with that.
Yeah, repeat of game 1 where we're seeing the probe scout move out for Xin, where he is getting inside of Dewalt's base, and Dewalt still has not yet sent out a scout, but a mirrored build order otherwise. But that's going to give a slight economic advantage to Dewalt overall.
If we do have, I think both players, I think they built a Zealot. Maybe I'm wrong here. 17 supply for both. Cybernetics coming down, pylon at the same timing too. I've got my eyes locked on Xin's gas because last game, remember, he pulled off of gas. For now, he's not pulling off. If he's going to pull, it will be in the next 30 seconds or so. Both players built their first goon. Don't see Citadel or any fake upgrade coming in from the Cybernetics.
Yeah, no upgrade yet on either side. It looks, but this is, the critical thing. Again, Dewalt not even trying to scout. He sent out no probe scout and is just going to rely, I guess, on game sense from checking the natural expansion, things from there. He's showing that range is upgrading at this stage. So it looks like he is doing something, and we are seeing range upgrading the opposite end. So yeah, we'll see how it moves from here. But again, I would rather have the scouting information all the way around.
Yep. And we do see 2 goons for Xin. He's still mining gas. Meanwhile, Dewalt also still mining gas. And both players just going to move out with their initial goon. Let's see if somebody can get the first shot, because actually high ground advantage for Xin right now. Oh, they just missed. Oh, first shot goes off. Now, can he catch this goon? I don't think so. Yeah, he's just going to back off for now.
But I think that was actually important too, because he looks like we're seeing 1-gate robotics again for Dewalt. And it looks like we are seeing the same build once again. Yeah, he pulled the probes off gas, so it looks like he wants to go ahead and try to take a quick natural expansion. But that was critical because he cut off Dewalt, which means the Dragoon couldn't just peek into that natural expansion and get position there, which means Dewalt is going to have to rely on that OBS. Never mind, it looks like now he's got a probe much later that wants to try to take the northern route to get eyes and see what's going on.
Yep, probe going to be coming in just a second. Let's see Sheen's reaction timing here. He does not have a second goon in position to delay or to deny the probe getting in, but just seeing the goon makes Dewalt back off. And like you said, this is identical build so far. I wonder if Dewalt's going to go into 3-gate again. And I wonder if, well, a 3rd gate already down for Sheen, so exactly the same opener from him.
Yeah, it looks like there was only 2-gate obs this time from Dewalt, so a stronger build opener position here for Sheen, and we'll see if Dewalt, so he's got the observatory. It looks like he's also getting the robotic support bay. Actually, for a second there, I thought I saw a second gateway. Maybe it was canceled, but so it's going to be 1 gate, and Dewalt's going to have to do something magical with some reaver.
Yeah, and I wonder what Sheen's response is going to be, because it's the same scenario last game where he really didn't have much intel. I wonder what he's going to blindly build as a follow-up. Is it just going to be Robo again? Does he think like, maybe I just miscontrolled here and I can actually hold the same opener from Dewalt? Actually, Dewalt not going to do the same opener because that's a Nexus follow-up. And I have to say, I think Sheen got the better end of the stick here. Of course, Dewalt's going to have the better tech, but Econ's going to be kicking in much faster for Sheen.
Yeah, I think critically is so Sheen went for that expansion, followed up with the additional gateways. Dewalt was just going for kind of the defensive, protective, let's go ahead and go 1 gate obs, expand, play very economically, and have that reaver for defense, potentially, if I'm getting pushed against. But in the meantime, he got 0 scouting. He has no idea. This observer is going to be the first eyes on anything out in the map. He is going to have the advantage as far as tech in that reaver, but he's going to have a lot of Dragoons sitting out of his natural expansion very shortly.
Well, again, we're seeing Sheen out on the map with this 6 or 7 goon, single zealot, and behind this, he's the one that has the faster nexus. This is so surprising to me because you never see somebody take an expansion and think, yeah, I got the unit lead. Like, because how could that possibly be? You spent 400 minerals on a nexus. Luckily for Dewalt, the reaver comes out at the right time. Sheen did have the army advantage, pokes in, sees the reaver, and backs off.
Yeah, so the timing of this, the reaver right there. But now Dewalt has a later natural expansion that he's just now saturating. He's got to keep that reaver at home base because Sheen went and got aggressive with it. Robotic support bay now being there for Sheen as well. But I've got to say, build order advantage, at least initially. And I like the decision making on Sheen parts, all except for this, moving in against a reaver in the gap, trying to pick it off. Dewalt able to close that gap with the Dragoon, although taking a lot of fire. Is he going to lose that reaver? The reaver still holds. Sheen continuing to press into this, wants to get shot, does take out the reaver, but lost a lot of Dragoons, and another reaver is marching its way down. So it looks like it might be a unit reset all the way across. And so Sheen going to lose some troops, but I think I like the decision here to go ahead and do the troop reset, go ahead and kill everything on the opposite end, because he knows he's got the faster nexus. So clearing out everything just drops opportunities for Dewalt to pull out with that reaver and maybe get a shuttle and do something sneaky and try to find ways back into this match.
It seemed like a pretty even trade for both players. The Robo is way later for Sheen. Second Reaver was already out for Dewalt, and you see support bay just started for Sheen. So second Reaver or shuttle is going to be coming out for Dewalt in just a second. Both players going into 4-gate. What is that? Okay, that's the support bay. I was wondering if that's a forge or something, because +1 is a major breakpoint in PvP. We see both players have their nat obviously up and running. Both players taking gas now too. And supplies are pretty much dead even at this point.
Dead even, but you got 2 reavers on Dewalt's side. And I think that was another important... I think this shows you Sheen is a very intelligent player. He's like, I want to go ahead and take out one of those reavers. A bunch of gateways being dropped on the Dewalt side of the map, though.
Yeah, really ramping up that production. I did not see a Citadel for Dewalt or Sheen, though. So not too sure how easily you're going to be able to support 6-gate and Robotech. That's 300 to 400 gas every 30 seconds. Quite a lot. So he's going to need to mix in at least some zealots here if he wants to be able to produce out of all of them. Now, I like the pylon positioning from Sheen in his main. He's got good vision there. A pylon out towards the right side of his natural is going to give him slight vision there. That's nice. Really like to see him put it on the high ground of that third base at bottom right. It looks like that's exactly what he's going to do.
So in about a minute, though, Dewalt's going to have a huge troop. I like Sheen's positioning as well, where he's taking that middle high ground position on Eclipse. where basically if Dewalt attacks into him, he's going to have high ground advantage, and he's kind of fanning around it, also peeking forward. I wonder if he's even going to move forward and go for, it looks like he's just crawling up to make sure to see if anything's camping the opposite side, but there is going to be a time here where Dewalt's going to want to move out with that huge troop count and find positioning. But if he's going to engage and have the advantageous engagement point, he's going to have to walk the far way around. Fortunately for him, because of tech being later, that observer is going to see that army sitting up on the high ground and know that he can maneuver just right around it.
Well, I don't know what triggered this attack from Xin, but he's moving for a counterattack at the same time that Dewalt wanted to attack, and that forces Dewalt to actually turn around, and that's a shuttle with a reaver. I think only one, though, so it's going to be 2 reaver versus 1 for Dewalt. Oh my god, that shuttle is so far forward along with those reavers. Already the shuttle's taken more than half its health and damage. Gotta be very careful. Oh, actually, there are 2 reavers there. But look at the goon count for Dewalt. It's a superior number right now. Good shot from both sides, though.
So Xin, keep in mind, he's got better high ground position. He's trying to bait Dewalt to where he has the high ground advantage, but Dewalt has more gateways behind this, and a closer reinforcement point. So he's going to be able to flood troops a lot more rapidly. But in the meantime, Xine's going to go ahead and set up to grab his 3rd. So looking to just peck away engagements, that might be dangerous if he floats a lot of minerals, because right now, and that pylon's going to see that shuttle trying to sneak around. This might be a trigger for Dewalt to potentially engage. The observer on the other side, Xin, I think, realizing the danger, going to go ahead and back off. But right now, Dewalt, this is when that troop count starts flooding in, where off that 6th gate behind this, and he needs to make a move on. Otherwise, Xine's going to be able to establish that 3rd potentially and take another economic lead in this match.
Oh man, Xin has an observer now, and he's going to see that. Well, wait, dude, you don't have any units here. So he must know he's getting backstabbed. So I wonder what his response is going to be. Is he going to try and turn around or try and counterattack? This is going to be a turnaround. And Dewalt, I don't think he's going to find much damage, just maybe a couple pylons or so. But that was a slick move to force Xin back into a more defensive posture. And actually, it's delayed the Nexus because you can see Xine's trying to build a 3rd one.
This was some brilliant play from Xin. I think he realized the situation exactly, because that's an odd place to put a pylon for a distractionary attack, and realized, okay, potentially there's a cutoff. I think Dewalt's going to go aggressive, and I'm wondering if this has to do with studying Dewalt and knowing his style of play. But now his reinforcements running into a huge amount of Dragoons, so loses 4 Dragoons for free up on the high ground. His unit's a bit out of position. And this is Dewalt. This is his strength, is those map positionings. Might be able to catch this Dragoon force out of position, but that's great concavity for Xin, plus picks off the shuttle. He's still got his 2 Reavers on the high ground, so both Reavers look like going to get taken out potentially in this fight, though Xin not focus firing that 2nd Reaver. 2 Reavers, and actually maybe a potential big mistake right there. Dewalt still trying to flood, but it looks like Xine's got the closer reinforcement point, plus had those Reavers up for a longer period of time. Some great concavity. So continue to push this, but more reinforcements moving forward from the high ground from Dewalt on the right side. He's starting to focus fire with that superior gateway count. He has more goons than he has a Reaver. It looks like slow walking all the way over here to go ahead and join this fight.
Yeah, that's a Sin's Reaver just walking across the map, and what looked like a disaster fight for Dewalt actually ends up being an amazing fight for him. It's 4 goons versus 9. Sure, there are Zealots here, but with the Reaver, those are going to instantly die. Actually, the Zealots are just going to instantly die before a Reaver even gets off. And Dewalt, he is moments away from taking game 2. The flood of gateways really kicking in for Dewalt, and now, how does Xin actually kill this army?
So he has a Reaver up on the high ground, but it's going to be very difficult to protect. He's already moved to the low ground. The Dragoons are jumping on it immediately, and that's also boxing off high grounds where Dragoons might have been able to attack from the high ground. And there's GG, and Dewalt does it again. Dewalt just, he's such a fear. Like, I liked a lot of the decision-making from Xine's part. And also, I felt like having that pylon out there showed that he, just intelligent play, was kind of covering his bases. But Dewalt, even with the turn rate, able to get some amazing micro. And I don't know how he pulled out in that fight, where it just seemed like his Reavers were out of position. Maybe it was bad babysitting on Xine's part. But ends up taking this match, and it looks like he is going to be very, he's so strong. And we're going to see a marquee matchup here. We're going to see Dewalt versus Sziky. This is going to be a fun one. I'm really excited about this match.
Yeah, I'm sure this is what the majority of chat wanted to see, because Sziky, ridiculous in all the matchups. And of course, Dewalt, no slouch either. I mean, he's amazing. And you could see it right there. Like, it was even supply, and then there's one fight which it doesn't even look like it's in favor of Dewalt, and he just somehow wins it, like, just crazy. It really may have come down to the fact that Xin wanted to take that 3rd Nexus, and cut gateways. I didn't actually see in his main what his gateway count was, but 6 versus 4, I think, for Dewalt, and he does take that game with a engagement that, I don't know, I don't have to rewatch the replay. How the hell did that happen? But that's going to be our winners match set, Sziky versus Dewalt. We know our elimination match is going to be Avi-Love versus Xin. So we're going to be going into a break, and then we'll come back and find out who's going to be making it into the round of 8. Is it Sziky or is it Dewalt? We're back. So we do know what our winners match is going to be. It's the ZVP, Dewalt versus Sziky, a dream final matchup for this group. You were telling me that these two played in the fighting spirit best of 7, best of 7s. So a lot of recent games between these two, and you seem to think that Dewalt's got the advantage here.
Yeah, so Sziky was able to win 2 games in a row multiple times, but in any of the best of 7s that I was able to cover, which I think I was able to get up to 3 of them, because it's a lot of games, so many games. Yeah. Dewalt managed to win every single one, although I think it was 7 games and 6 games, and then finally in the 3rd set. But thing is like both players pulled out everything, all of the stops in those matchups, so it's not like they're not in practice against one another, and a lot of those games were epic. So they've seen each other, they know each other's play style, they know what each other are about, and yeah, I think these matchups are going to be intense.
Yeah, I agree. In the first couple BSLs where Sziky, I guess, made his return to BroodWar, it seemed like in, I would say, the middle stages of the game, like in the 10 to 15 mark, 15-minute mark, that seemed to be his most vulnerable stage. I remember specifically it was either Dewalt or versus Bonnet on Polypoid. They kind of just overran Sziky, but now that he's played more games, he's been in the scene a little bit longer, I think that window of opportunity that Dewalt could potentially exploit is no longer there. So I haven't seen any of those Fighting Spirit games. I hope we get to see something other than Zealot Man as the opener from Dewalt. I think you were mentioning to me there were Goon openers. I, of course, am always waiting to see if we will see the fabled Reaver. Metaverse is a map that I know you can do it. In fact, there are epic games already on that map where it was mini versus effort. We saw Reaver into carriers. So I actually hope somebody picks that.
Yeah, I think the advantage I saw when Dewalt had it is when he did open Gateway, and when he just has this incredible ability to get units out on the map and make players lose track of them. He just knows where overlords are somehow and slides his zealots around. And we're gonna have a starter on Eclipse, but yeah, especially Dewalt's early game with the zealots disrupting the 3rd, it's huge.
Yeah, well, let's get into the first game. It's gonna be Eclipse, Sziky versus Dewalt. Okay, in the top right position, our Protoss, it is Dewalt.
And in the bottom left-hand corner, as the blue Zerg, we have Sziky.
Yeah, so I can't remember if it was ASL or BSL, but recently there was a game on Eclipse where the guy opened Gateway, and he followed up with a super fast forge and cannon rushed while also having a Zealot pressure at its natural. So that could be a very, very punishing build that Dewalt could pull out here. Of course, Dewalt, very serious about BroodWar. I'm sure he saw the game I'm talking about, so I want to see that opener because I want to see fireworks from the get-go.
You know, honestly, knowing these two guys, I would not be shocked to see Dewalt actually opt to open for a Forge and Sziky open up 9 pool. Just knowing that Dewalt's early game Zealots and their capacity to do damage out on the map and their capacity to just cause so much disruption, might as well have the Zerglings out there and try to play the game from that stage of things. Who wants to deal with it? Because honestly, the games where I saw Sziky go 12 patch, Dewalt just outmaneuvered him at every corner. It looks like we are seeing, I think, an overpool here from Sziky. We'll see once that, overpool there. But let's see if we see the Forge first from Dewalt, or if he is going to opt for, the thing is, he's dangerous with both.
Yeah, I mean, it's Dewalt, dude. He's amazing. And there is the Forge. You called it. So he is going to go for, I mean, it's somewhat fast. It's not super fast. So this could be, I think it could have been potentially going for a cannon rush, but with the overpool opener, of course, that's not going to work, and Dewalt's going to have to just take his Nexus And because it is an overpool, well, the drone on the ramp is curious. I wonder what Dewalt's going to think. Oh, never mind, comes down. So that means he's going to scout it and probably go into Nexus before cannon.
We're getting a little bit of disruption, but honestly, against Sziky, you still want to try to keep that probe alive. The games that Sziky did win, he was able to get this probe out of the way early, put Dewalt in the dark, and then, kind of control the game from there. Looks like Ziki's not dedicating a full, well, maybe he's dedicating full 6 Zerglings. We'll see, but the way that it was built, it looked like it might just potentially be the 4. Gets that hatchery up and running. But here's the thing, Dewalt, he, especially as that 3rd starts coming into play, he just seems to have a knack for creating a lot of disruption around that 3rd.
Yep. Now, I can't remember who it was, but we definitely saw a probe snipe a drone in one of the previous series, so Sziky needs to be careful there. It is Nexus before the cannon. The cannon will be in time for these 5 wings, but he's going to have to pull a couple probes and make sure they do not run by and into the main. Behind this, Sziky not going for fast gas follow-up. It is just going to be 3rd hatch on location at his 3rd base.
Let's see, every once in a while, Sziky will try to test that front door, see if he can pick a probe off even under cannon fire. But this is against Dewalt, and so it might be one of those things where he doesn't want to test it against Dewalt and hold the advantages he's got. Dewalt attacking his own forge, just as a statement. If I attack my own forge, I'm crazy, man. I could do absolutely anything.
Yeah.
But trying to get that probe maneuvering up to go ahead and confirm that 3rd base gas being added. So it looks like Dewalt, going to go ahead and play mid-game macro. I think the game style I love seeing him follow this up with, honestly, is when he goes Corsair, gets +1, and gets kind of that sweet number of Corsair and just clears out the map vision in the middle, because when he has those off-tempo zealots in the mid game running all over the place, it's very hard to keep up with.
Yeah, and if you throw the tempo of Zerg off, all of a sudden the game just snowballs heavily in your favor. So we'll be looking for that. Now that's a pretty darn fast cybernetics follow-up, especially since we know that the gas is late for Sziky. Oh, actually, no, it's not. Lair already started, and Lings run through from downtown. That cannon got a connection, but does not kill the one remaining Ling. And Dewalt's like, I don't even care about that one Ling. He's just gonna send out his first zealot. And did you notice that the Overlord did not intercept it? So this zealot could disrupt the tempo that you were already talking about.
This is, he just knows. He's like, okay, you're going to sacrifice your Lings to the natural expansion because you're like, okay, you don't have zealots here. I'm going to go ahead and take the one zealot I just built. You're going to have no idea. And it's marching all the way to the natural expansion. I think Sziky, knowing Dewalt, I think he just assumed that zealot was going to be here. So he does have the 4 Lings to go ahead and intercept it. And I think this shows you how often these guys have played. But that probe scout's still alive, and it's still able to get vision. It's able to confirm the 3-hatch play. And it's also going to be able to absolutely confirm that there's no cancellation or anything too crazy behind that. I wouldn't be shocked. 2 zealots now marching down. I wouldn't be shocked to see that 4th hatchery pushback after this. But in the meantime, Dewalt trying to get something done with these 2 zealots marching across the map.
Yep, 2 zealots versus 4 Lings can push those back easily. And remember, the probe is still alive, and that's going to dish out a lot of damage if it can sync up with the 2 zealots. Meanwhile, Lings are going to branch off and try and intercept them. If these 2 Lings can hold the ramp, this could be a good, favorable trade for Sziky, and he does. The probe's also going to fall, and these 2 zealots did not work out for Dewalt.
So Dewalt actually not able to get a lot of damage done. He was able to force several Zerglings to get built. Another zealot marching towards the natural expansion. This zealot, with a sliver of health, somehow able to get up into that 3 o'clock base, might get a drone kill. Sziky microing those drones away. So Dewalt still with what looked like it was going to be an easy zealot cleanup. The Zerglings pulling back and that zealot retreating to the upper left. In the meantime, it looks like we are going to have that Corsair out shortly. The Spire, it should be here momentarily. I think that's going to be in time to go ahead to get a Scourge up in the air, but there has been a decent amount of disruption from Dewalt, despite what I thought was going to be kind of a null attack.
Yeah, I thought that those 2 zealots were just going to instantly die. I guess Sziky thought that the zealot was dead and move commanded it back to defend the natural. Luckily for Sziky, he realized that it was still alive and did not lose a single drone in that engagement, but nicely done from Dewalt to make it wild already. First Sair out on the map, it is going to find an Overlord kill. We can see Sziky is just morphing Scourge. He's supply blocked, so he may have wanted to build Mutalisk and just isn't able to. Okay, he does want to build Mutalisk now that the supply block is over.
So, and this is curious because Dewalt, so right now he's grabbed that second gas. That second gas, I think, was a bit later than usual. So suggests he's potentially going up to Templar tech. These Scourge very close on that Corsair. That Corsair looks like it is going to be able to make its way back to home base. but we didn't see additional gateways being dropped from Dewalt, so it looks like he wants to go for more of a tech-heavy opener here in the mid-game.
Yeah, his Citadel's already done. He got second gate at the natural. No gateway flood just yet. Didn't see his exact gas timing, but based on how much he's been mining, it doesn't look like an excessive amount. I think there's only 2 Sares up right now, 3 Sares up, and the cannon time, look at this, it's perfect for the Muta harassment that's incoming. So this Muta harassment probably not going to get a lot of damage done, but Sziky not overcommitting to this. He's got 6 hatches coming up, his Hydra Den's done. Did not see an evolution chamber, but I did see the Hydra Den. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I kind of actually like Sziky's position overall, because now let's see if the Corsairs can move out to intercept these Mutalisks. So it's going to confirm Mutalisks are out in the field, but the Zealots are taking a lot of free damage, and that means they're not going to be able to go up and get any disruption on Sziky's side of the map, which means Sziky's going to feel a lot more comfortable going ahead and droning up. The Corsairs potentially waiting for larger numbers to go ahead and engage, but I like that also Sziky is not, this is what other Zergs have done, where it's allowed kind of the mid-game Corsair action to happen. Oh, able to go up and get a probe kill as well, with the Corsairs out of position to defend, while they're still in somewhat, well, actually 5 Corsairs right there. The Scourge landing, I think that was a Corsair, or what was that? That one, it looked like one Corsair got popped in the middle of that fight. But Sziky refusing, so doing a great job of engaging and not overcommitting with Mutalisks, but making sure that Dewalt doesn't run out of control with air control in the mid-game.
Yeah, so down to 4 or 5 Sares now, so there's not that critical mass of 7, which just completely shuts down almost all of the air control that Zerg has. Only 5 Mutas, so it's not an overcommitment here, but 2 more sets of Scourge coming in. That's going to actually force the Corsairs to retreat, and again, these Mutas are going to get off a lot of free damage. I haven't seen a Zealot die yet, but they are taking a lot of shield damage at least. However, at the same time, the Mutas did not see that blur, I don't think, and 2 DTs have snuck across the map.
I actually love what Sziky's doing, because honestly, I feel like this is what's been extremely effective against Zerg lately, is to have those Corsairs eliminate or just wipe out everything, get rid of vision, march Zealots absolutely everywhere with speed. But you can see what Sziky's doing. He was using those Scourge to go ahead and box out those Corsairs so he could get damage on those Zealots and soften them up and keep them off those expansions. However, looks like those Scourge were taken care of, so Dark Templar now moving up to that 9 o'clock, or that 9 o'clock location. Plus, you've got a lot of Zealots potentially behind this to go to another location. That's going to force a lot of troops out for Sziky, and he's got to box up and defend.
That was a clutch Hydra cycle right there. It was only 3 Hydras before those 3 or 4 popped out, and I think the DTs could have overwhelmed that base, comboed with the Sares. But now, there's a decent amount of Zealots out on the map, and with 2 DTs there too, they could pack a punch if there's a Hydra engagement out in the center somewhere. Sziky was down 72 supply to 48 a moment ago. Now it's 100 to 80, so good catch up there. But I did see the first few Templar are out for Dewalt, and that's a game changer in any big battle.
Here's a critical thing. Dewalt did a heavy investment in those Corsair. That was 5-6 Corsair. I think we had that one that was wiped out. That's a lot of Corsair, and you need to get something accomplished with them. When you're having that large an investment, you need Overlord kills, you need kills. But right now, Sziky, it looks like he's fielding a decent troop comp, and plus the Overlord's out in the map, and just really is not been touched since the early game. We'll see if that changes now as Dewalt's moving out, able to catch a little bit of that air fleet out of position. And you can see both players wanting to have kind of that trade comp. You want the Corsairs on top, or you want the Mutalisks on top of the Zealots, peeking right there. Great side storm, catching a good bunch right there. But things are moving in towards a big engagement right here. That Overlord getting pecked away at the Zealots, marching towards this natural expansion. We might see a big engagement in a moment.
Yeah, and supply lead. Oh my gosh, he supply blocked Sziky right now, so it's a 30 supply lead with no way to actually produce more units. That's a good dodge from the Hydras. That's something Sziky is always fantastic at. And now he's going to, oh, that's a great lurker morph. But is there enough Hydras to actually deal with the Zealots? There's so many coming in. He's on 8-gate production. And I think they're just made, oh, no. With the Sunken and Sim City support, Sziky is going to push this back. And the Sares got caught. And lurkers are morphing. And there's no goons or observer out.
This is an incredible match. This is like next level. Honestly, I feel like this is cutting edge Zerg versus Protoss that we're seeing right now. You can see the composition on both ends where Sziky had filled in the Hydralisks underneath, helped deal with the Corsairs and try to catch them out of position. So it's like the Mutalisks want to land on the Zealots. The Corsairs want to push back the Mutalisks, keep them alive. The Zealots want to get on top of something to go ahead and do some damage. But I think Sziky is getting the better end of all of this, and he's starting to creep up, and he's starting to push towards this natural expansion. The Corsair unit count also able to pick up a High Templar right there, but we don't see observers out on the field yet, which means there's potential for a lurker containment.
DeWalt's in big trouble. Not only is there no observer, like you said, his cybernetics wasn't spinning. So that upgrade takes like a minute and a half or longer to upgrade. How the heck is he going to get out of a lurker Hydra contain, especially after he just lost all 3 of his Templars? There's no way you're busting out a lurker contain with Mass Zealot. I know that for a fact. And Sziky, with this hard contain, he's going to snowball his advantage. He's going to take a 4th base. But here comes a, I think it was an Archon drop, actually. Yeah, there it is.
Showing the Archon. We don't have Scourge in position to take care of it. Zerglings don't want to engage it. They might be able to get in the main, get something done. We have Sziky making his way towards Hive. He's got to get something done with this, because this is DeWalt's one chance to try to get back in the match, surrounding by Zerglings. So Zealots and an Archon to engage this. The Archon has been taken out. The Zerglings now pressing, but now, while that's happening, DeWalt trying to press out of this natural expansion, realizing he's got to do something to get back in this match as soon as he had the Observer, but the Zealots getting shredded, and that is GG. And wow. And I got to say, seeing that match, and seeing what Sziky was able to pull with the timings and everything, it just felt like he's ahead in the meta. That just felt like, because that felt like cutting edge Zerg versus Protoss meta to me. And it felt like Sziky was just there with the perfect timings and was just slightly ahead. So honestly, I think he might, seeing that, unless we see a dramatic shift in this next match, I see Sziky pulling out of this.
Yeah, Sziky, like you said, there were moments where it looked like DeWalt may push, like with the DTs, for example, but then the 3 Hydras pop out. That's not going to work anymore. I actually thought DeWalt's build was really streamlined. I'm watching it. I see he's got so many Zealots. He's got DTs. He's got the Templars. He's got the Critical Mass Corsairs. He's got 8 Gate. I'm like, man, this is really, really slick. And then we go and look at his main after he loses the fight. And when I see no range being upgraded, when lurkers are already out, I'm like, oh my God, really? And maybe just DeWalt mismanaged the build in that sense with the range, because you could see he was building goons at the end. It wasn't like he wanted to go pure Zealot, obviously. But yeah, nicely done from Sziky. He's going to take game 1 in a series where game 1 definitely is a huge deal when you're playing versus someone like DeWalt. But now we're going to have DeWalt's pick. People so far today have really liked the one-on-one maps. I want to see Metaverse. I don't think that's going to happen.
Honestly, if I was DeWalt, I'd try to pick something where you know that third is a distance away from. Find something where the third base where Zerg has to take it's segregated, so you can create that chaos on the map. Because when I saw DeWalt get ahead of Sziky in the matches he's played, he got ahead of Sziky by doing that early game Zealot dance and disrupting that third base and doing crazy, sometimes even putting a pylon behind that third and trying to get something like a late cannon across that third, and really just knocking Sziky off balance in those early stages. I would not be surprised to see Sziky open up with a 9 pool again, but I would not be shocked to see this time DeWalt open up with a gate, just to try, knowing that he can just get that disruption done and see what can happen from there.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see another Forge opener. I think DeWalt has enough varied play that he'll mix it up here. I would bet money we're going to see Ascension. It's been in the map pool for a long time in the ladder. It's a great PvZ map. It has a not really a far third base, but a lot of high ground that Protoss can use. Storm from high ground, very, very punishing. A lot of ramps too that Protoss could have used. So I would bet money that we're going to see Ascension here. But DeWalt down 0-1, he must win here. Otherwise, Sziky going to be moving into the round of 8. And like you said, Sziky just looked fantastic. And I was worried because remember in the beginning that Zealot moved across. Oh my gosh, it actually got through. So Metaverse is going to be our map pick. This map always has epic PvZ games. So let's get into game 2, Diggity. See what DeWalt and Sziky have in store for us. So in the bottom right, with a very slick pick, it is DeWalt.
In the upper left, as the red Zerg, we have Sziky.
All right, well, I've talked about PvZ openers on Metaverse. You think we're going to have another pool opener, but what do you think the follow-up is going to be on something like Metaverse?
Ooh, that's a great question. Especially, I think, honestly, I have no idea. I think Sziky's still going to try to go for the 3-play. I think he's going to see whether he can eliminate that early probe scout. But the thing with Metaverse for DeWalt is it is such a large map, and there is so many features to run around and have that kind of invisible advantage where you can just move troops absolutely everywhere, and it's up to Sziky to kind of keep track of what's happening where. that is kind of the downside of a smaller map. In fact, actually, if this goes to a game 3, if I was Sziky, I'd try to choose one of the smaller maps, so you don't have Dewalt where you can just run absolutely everywhere. But I like also, this is one of those maps where the third is kind of a question mark at times, where you have, okay, are you going to try to go for that third across the, I guess I want to call them like the central axes at the 3, 9, 12, or 6, where you got to take down the random pyramid, or are you going to go for the one that's a little bit more exposed along that other corner? It looks like we are seeing a gate opener though, and we are seeing, the early pool opener here from Sziky.
Yeah, this was a 9 pool, just like you expected. So it's going to be another aggressive play from Sziky, at least in terms of the openers. Now we see Sziky scouting bottom left, obviously not going to find Dewalt first. And Dewalt not going to find Sziky in the top right position, but going to find him second. And go ahead.
You know what's funny is, like, usually in cross map situation, it's like, oh, well, it's cross maps, so it's a little harder to work with because you got the extra distance and things like that. But that actually might play in Dewalt's favor, just because of all of the directions he can send these troops, all of the area that needs to be scouted to deal with this. So, but right now we are going to see the early Zerglings, and it's going to be critical that Sziky takes. I think he needs to get an advantage here. I think he needs to take care of that probe scout early, and I would not be shocked to see him focus on that rather than moving those Zerglings towards the front.
Now probe comes in, and I'm going to be looking to see that gas timing from Sziky. Will we see something like a 235, 245 gas? Or will he take another third hatchery somewhere out on the map? I've seen a lot of games on Metaverse where actually they play Larva-esque in the sense that they take another natural. So we may see a split map scenario, more Avi-Love style, heavy upgrades, heavy lings, heavy hive tech. But before we get into that, of course, lings moving across the map, it's going to be 5 versus just 1 zealot right now.
And Sziky, keep in mind, against this gate, oftentimes he will be able to sneak those Zerglings through and try to get into the main. This is a smaller ramp to be able to try to execute that, but there is some exposed territory, and these are Sziky-lings. He's got incredible micro, so able to go in, do a little bit of damage, getting backed into the right-hand corner. But Dewalt's going to have to put in a little... Oh, is he going to get an early kill? Trying to get an early smile, and there we see the split. He's trying to use the... But Sziky still gets through with the Zerglings. Are you kidding me? He had the ramp block. I think he was baiting him into it to try to take these early Zerglings out. But instead, Sziky able to get into the main and get some probe kills.
Well, we know... Oh, there's one. We know how great Sziky's control is, and we know how diligent he is with lings. So these 4 lings could legitimately do game-ending damage to Dewalt. And he's not counterattacking with the zealots at all. So when Sziky comes in and scouts with this 1 ling, he's going to feel confident to just drone behind it. Dewalt is in really big-time trouble. Luckily, he's only lost 1 probe so far. And I talked about split map scenario. We see Sziky is actually taking a close third base. Is this going to be a ling flood?
This is going to be a ling flood, and I don't know how many cannons. The forge is not even up at the natural expansion. So Dewalt's going to have to pull probes to try to defend this, and you're going up against Sziky, who has incredible Zergling control. Very greedy to try to take this forge, but these Zerglings, honestly, I think they're going to be here before that cannon's even finished.
Yeah, and he still has the 3 lings alive, so he can come in through the back and snipe that cannon while the cannon is focusing lings in the front. Probe pull is actually at a critical moment right when Sziky's about to attack, so it's really going to help Dewalt support these odds. The cannon is so close to falling, but it doesn't, and I think that means that Dewalt is going to hold this. He may lose a gate or the forge, but for now, Sziky has committed a lot of lings, and this really did not pay off for him.
Yeah, I think this might have been a misstep on Ziky's part because he built a lot of Zerglings that he didn't need to in the mid game. But that is going to give him an advantage as far as following this up, where he doesn't have to worry. Well, he's got enough Zerglings. He's got Dewalt pinned into his base, where he doesn't have to worry about Zealots floating around the map, going to an expansion or another. Second cannon preventatively being dropped by Dewalt, which I think is very intelligent. It looks like we're seeing just some drones being powered and the tech to layer. But as things are balancing out, so there's enough disruption where I believe Sziky slowed Dewalt down enough where he was able to do that, and it wasn't so much of a detriment. But at the same time, that was a lot of lings that weren't drones. So now he's going to go ahead and wander in. He just wants to see what Dewalt's up to.
Yep, he's going to confirm. Oh, no, he just barely missed the cybernetics timing. But his lair is pretty far along. So it's going to be similar, I would say, to last game where maybe Dewalt will get like 1 Overlord kill. You can see that there's actually a big supply block for Sziky right now. 27 out of 27 now finally coming out of the supply block. But he does confirm that the Stargate is about halfway done. And behind this, Dewalt not a super fast gas. So he's really going to be ramping up that mineral income and probably going to see a gateway flood pretty quick this time.
Yeah, clearing off some of those zerglings on the front now that he has enough zealots to kind of bully them around. And that is as that Corsair potentially is going to come out. And I like what Sziky's doing, though, is even though those zerglings are getting bullied back, he's still trying to keep eyes and make sure he knows what's coming. And that Spire now being built. And it looks like a single Dragoon being built to go ahead and take that Overlord out.
Yep, that's going to be painful because Sziky was really not expecting the Overlord to die this quickly. You can see, oh, actually, I guess he was. So he preemptively built 2 Overlords, and the Oyuji Dragoon is not going to catch Sziky off guard. But I would say Sziky's still in a fine position. The Zealots have not moved out, so these, 12 or so Lings are going to be more than enough defense right now.
I'm almost wondering if Dewalt, by showing that Dragoon, is trying to play a little bit of mind games, because he did try to go for some Dragoon builds at the late stage. It was like, honestly, I don't think that's what we're going to see here, but he did try to sneak in some Dragoon builds with like +1 weapons range. I think it worked better against like a 973 Hydralist thing. I don't think it's going to work against the standard 4-hatch play. Sziky's still testing that front door, still making sure he's keeping an eye on that, and the Corsair going to go ahead and wander up. It's confirming the drone saturation, seeing that Sziky is playing a little, it was able to saturate and get a decent economy going. Looks like the second Corsair making its way across. I'm expecting some Scourge in the air, but right now it looks like Sziky's moving back towards the 4-hatch play. He's going to try to isolate up, go ahead and drone up and play a little bit more defensively, particularly because Dewalt, it looks like he wants to, he does have that second gas. He did have a lot of delays early game. So go ahead and sit back, drone up, and try to play an advantage into the late game.
Yeah, and even though this looks like a dire situation for Sziky, if we think about the supply last game, it was 72-48, and this is a similar situation. Well, okay, actually, I guess it is a more dire situation than I was expecting, because double Sunken coming up, and you really don't want to build Sunkens if you don't have to. Could have been drones. We do see 5-hatch already done. More Lings being produced because Sziky's Hydrogen is not done just yet. And this time around, there is no evolution chamber. So +1, not even close to being completed, obviously, since it hasn't even started.
Yeah, Sziky moving towards, it looks like 5-hatch. Double Sunken, still managed to get a drone kill with those 2 Sunken colonies there. But yeah, dropping the Sunken colonies just so that he would be able to absorb the attack. But a big supply lead right now for Dewalt. It looks like he's once again rebuilding that air fleet, and it looks like he's going to try to do the same thing he did in game 1, but at this stage Sziky is kind of opting with
no,
that drone stuck with that Sunken colony along that edge.
Oh no,
so he's not mining gas at that third, and that could be, so he's got to kill that Sunken colony. Yeah, and so that's a big waste, and on top of that he's losing a lot of gas in the meantime, and that is not what you want to have, like, particularly like against any opponent, but particularly Dewalt.
Yeah, luckily he noticed it. That's something that I think a lot of players just wouldn't notice until they start looking at their gas and wondering, like, well, wait a minute, why don't I have actually more mutas or more hydras here? So good catch there. And even though Sziky, I would say, was down in the early stages, he's recovered, at least in terms of supply. It's 94-77. That is a ton of Scourge and Muta. So he's going to really try and catch these Corsairs off guard. First DT was out in the map. Don't know if it got drone or Ling kills, but not very many overall.
Yeah, it looks like Dewalt this time is going to try the same thing, but without going for the early game movement and harass. So I think he's just going to wait until he's got a large fleet of both Corsair and Zealots and Dark Templar, etc. in the middle, and then start making, now starting to make movement with an Archon as well, and just try to punch through something and try to do as much damage as possible. I'm not seeing a lot of Hydralisks underneath this, so it looks like it might be just mules to try to defend. But keep in mind, there's that Archon behind this, which if they can get on top of and all of those Corsairs, if they get the right positional fight, they could shred a lot of this army.
Yep, 6-hatch coming. Oh my gosh, did the Sair catch the... Oh, why is there an Archon already morph? He must have had a big read, and that Archon, well, generally they're fantastic versus Mutas, but it's going to fall pretty quickly. Of course, he kills 2 Mutalisks. Oh, the Scourge just barely. Don't surround those Corsairs, and that is a very lucky situation for Dewalt.
I don't know if I want to call that luck or skill on Sziky's part, but he moved those Mutalisks out. He did not group them yet, and when he saw the Archon, he
Yeah.
continued to not group them, which was a brilliant play. So he was able to catch that Archon at a position when it wasn't with the Corsair with the rest of the fleet, and he was able to move a lot of those Scourge. You can just see how he moves these Scourge forward to box out the Corsairs, and then uses the Mutalisks to bully and take everything else out underneath this. Now diving into the
Oh
main
my
to try
gosh.
to... And a huge surround! Only 2 Corsair remaining. That was a... Wow! Obliterated that Air Force. And so despite being behind in the supply count, it looks like he is going to be able to go ahead and secure that 12 o'clock location to grab his 4th base, and somehow has some form of map control with those Mutalisks roaming free.
Yeah, even though he doesn't get probe kills or doesn't, commit the mutas into the actual mineral line, catching all of those stairs, that was a massive win for him. And behind this, he's going to build more Mutalisks. This is definitely True Touch and Eon Zerg-esque, where when they know that the Corsair count is lacking, it's time to build those Mutalisks. And those Templars are going to have a rough time trying to save themselves, really, from those pesky Mutalisks flying above. DT, I'm not sure if they spotted the Muta movement, but I see it is still roaming around the map, so it is giving Dewalt some intel.
I like so here's the thing though, Sziky needs to be, he's got those Mutalisks, they can soften up those Zealots if they catch him in open field. He's gonna have to dodge some Psystorm. Those High Templar against all these Mutalisks are gonna have a hard time staying alive. I kind of want that Dark Templar to be out in the field to try to keep an eye on where that Mutalisk flock is, but right now it's kind of the reverse situation where Dewalt needs to keep track of what Ziki's doing, where that Mutalisk army is out on the map. Whereas usually the opposite situation, he's going to have a lot of trouble trying to take this 3rd with all of these Muta, all these Scourge, and everything else in the way.
Yeah, it is going to be really, really tough. This time around, I see that the Cybernetics range time, the range timing is still pretty late. It's still not done at 12:30. Robo is done though, but look at that army from Dewalt. It's fearsome. It's 145 supply. +1 is just now done for Sziky. Meanwhile, I think that this is still a 1-1 army for Dewalt. I don't see a second forge anywhere, and that forge just now started spinning. Isolated cannon is going to open up the natural mineral line, and that was a nice move from Sziky there. He's starting to run away with this, I would say. He's got lurkers set up. He's got a 4th base, and he has a lot of powerful units with the Mutas, Hydras, and Lurker combo.
Yeah, and it looks like they're decent upgrades here for Dewalt, but he doesn't have that upgrade advantage to rely on. Trying to get another cannon. These Mutalisks again diving, finding an isolated Dragoon, finding isolated units, finding the Dragoons able to force that back. But Sziky is now even in supply. He's got that 4th up. He's got 4 gas to work with. He has room if he wants to move to Hive that he probably could do so, and Dewalt's just now establishing his 3rd base.
Yeah, and as I stated, it is just 1-1 for Dewalt right now. It's not that powerful +2 armor power spike that we see in a lot of games. And in fact, +2 weapon for the Hydras may actually be faster than the +2 armor power spike. This 3rd base is extremely open too. Like Zerg has high ground really, and there's not a lot of real area to put a lot of cannons. And at the same time, Mutas can just backstab like this. This is a completely open main. Oh, look at that Templar. He's waiting.
Looks like, so Sziky peeking in there, the High Templar along the edge, but they're like, okay, let's go for the easy attack at the front. The Corsair's trying to push that back. The Zergling's trying to take shots at the cannons on the front, but this is a large enough attack force that it looks like Dewalt is going to be able to defend this. But here's the thing, even with Sziky not doing damage here, he's continuing to macro up. He's continuing to climb towards 200, and he's continuing to sit on 4 gas. And it looks like he's going to go ahead and take the natural in the upper right-hand corner.
He's trying to find these Templars with the Mutas, but for now, the Sayers and the Dragoon count have done a good job to protect them. That's a lot of lurkers being wharfed. I'm wondering if Zerg has Hive just yet. But again, as soon as Protoss moves, he just instantly gets counterattacked by these Mutas, and that's going to shut down this mineral line again. Actually, that Templar from the main is moving down to the Nat now. Maybe he can find a successful storm, but he's got to be careful to not storm his own probes.
Nice dodge by Sziky. He ate a little bit of that storm, but not much. And able to weave in. It looks like there was a bit of damage. There's 2 weakened Mutalisks, but the rest are going to go ahead and peel out. Sziky needs to be careful now, though, because that is a huge ball from Dewalt that is starting to move out in the field. And granted, there's a lot of lurkers and Hydralisks behind this, but if Dewalt moves in just a particular way, he might be able to wipe out something. But right now, Sziky, with the supply lead, he's everywhere. He's grabbed expansions absolutely everywhere. Dewalt, I think, is just trying to play economic catch-up. He's got that 3rd finally established, and he's moving forward with this big army to potentially try to grab a 4th.
Yeah, and Dewalt's third base is like just now really kicking in. It's not like he's had it up and running for a while. So Sziky's in a fantastic position. He's got 6 bases. He's got Hive coming. He's got 2 evolution chambers at least. There may even be a 3rd evolution chamber somewhere. And Dewalt may try and take mid-right, but that can be easily shut down once the temples get taken out, which is what Sziky's doing.
Oof. And here's the other thing is this is the stage of the match where you don't want to be facing Sziky, because he does kind of that swarming style where he's hit 200 now, and he can start moving troops out on the map and being everywhere and kind of doing that enveloping. It's almost like a Naruto Gaara sand grip thing, but with just Zerg units. Dewalt now moving up and confirming that a lot of these additional bases is being taken. I think Dewalt might want to just shift, get a couple High Templar out at these expansions, drop some cannons, and try to weather things for a little while.
Well, there is almost no defense at top right. I realize there are lurkers attacking the temples, but if Dewalt attacks and Sziky forgets about those lurkers and doesn't reposition him, that's an open base to take out. Meanwhile, a counterattack from Sziky onto the 4th base of Dewalt, but it's not very big, so it just gets shut down pretty easily. +2 armor power spike does kick in for Protoss right now, and that is so many lurkers. This mid-right base, if it gets started, is going to be instantly denied.
I love Sziky's troop movement there. He moved the troops to the bottom left to draw all of Dewalt's army that direction, and then immediately filters in with their counterattack to deny that 3 o'clock base. And now Dewalt potentially looking to make a counterattack. He's making his way towards the natural expansion, while Dewalt is sneaking all the way underneath to get to the natural.
Oh, those lurker shots are huge onto those dragoons. They do have vision with that cannon, at least for some of them. A Templar comes in to try to save the day with a storm, but Dewalt is not turning around to face this army. He's going to go for a counterattack himself, but he's attacking uphill into lurkers. Meanwhile, he's losing his natural, so he must make a move, and he's going to go for it. But I don't know about this. This is so much Zerg. Zerg is basically maxed.
Oh, and those lurker lines are absolutely shredding those zealots, really softening them up. And keep in mind, there's a lot of reinforcements that can overwhelm this. An empty side storm right there. The Corsairs are connecting with some overlords behind this. Great blanketing storms to hit some of those Hydralisks at the back position, but the reinforcements are the problem, and the fact that natural expansion has been more or less wiped out. I think this puts Dewalt potentially all in here. He needs to get something done with this army on the ground now, but reinforcements coming in. You can see they're starting to weave, and now actually as Sziky reinforces, he can come from multiple directions. Lurkers firmly planting on that natural expansion, and Dewalt, he's going to have dwindling troops to go ahead and surface here because he's losing mining time.
Yeah, Dewalt still had a lot of storms and he still had a lot of goons. But the problem is he can't reinforce the army at all because he has to deal with his natural. He's cleaning it up now, and actually, if he can save these goons, that would be a real win for him to save them. His attack ended up not working, but at least he's going to save the expensive units. Maybe Sziky's going to continue to chase with these lings and lurkers. He does not want them to escape, at least not the Templars.
He desperately needs to get this army into that expansion in the bottom left-hand corner to defend it, because otherwise Sziky is just going to be able to pile up another grouping of troops and potentially take it out. The Corsairs trying to do what they can, but right now, all of a sudden, Sziky with a 20 supply lead. The Corsairs, trying to be as distracting as possible. It looks like that is going to be the saving grace here to pull Sziky back, get some Hydralisks on the field, maybe slow down. He's not in the red yet, but it's creating enough of a distraction. But Hive Tech is up. The double evolution chambers have been doing their work this entire time, so they're highly upgraded. A Dark Templar able to sneak into that upper right-hand base. So Dewalt doing everything, throwing everything that just dishes against the wall, exploding, just to try to stay alive in this match. And it looks like he is going to stay alive from right this moment, but I got to give a huge lead to Sziky here.
Yeah, and even though found an opening into this base, unfortunately for him, there's no drones really over there. So for now, he's not going to get any. Okay, now he intercepts some drones. But these couple DTs, even though they didn't deal a lot of damage, at least they kept Sziky back. And you can see that Dewalt is taking a 5th base behind it. He just needs to buy time to get up all his powerful units into position. He's down 30 supply right now. Hive has kicked in. Sziky in a monster position. But, Storm is a game changer. If he can get set up, potentially he could have a favorable trade.
That's really what was big in those last engagements, is Dewalt's storms were absolutely everywhere and they were connecting, which is really thinning the herd. So even though Sziky was able to surround and reinforce and wipe everything else out, that kept Dewalt in the match. It looks like he's going to try to shell up in that bottom left-hand corner, but Sziky, it looks like he's taking that 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock position simultaneously and kind of guarding that interior 3 o'clock base. The Corsair have been wiped out. Sziky is once, and honestly, in this foot race, I think Ziki's going to hit 200 very, very rapidly. So Dewalt needs to get some solid defenses up and needs to make sure that, yeah, they're rock solid, because otherwise Ziki's just going to run away with this.
Well, we see another robotics being set up at bottom left. So Dewalt is going into the super late game comp, mass reaver, mass Templar, Archon, very high-tech units. And that's what can happen on a map like Metaverse. So even though Ziki's in a dominant position right now, if Dewalt stabilizes his half of the map, 6-7 gas Protoss, that's insane, the comp that they can make. For now, we haven't seen like a Stargate flood where we might see carriers or arbiters or anything, but the longer the game goes, we might actually get up into a comp like that. Sziky, for some reason, doesn't feel confident to attack anywhere, though.
I'm not sure that he's got a lot of these bases. I don't know that he's saturated them as of yet. And it looks like he's got a drop loading. So has a Doom drop potentially loading, and wherever that goes, that could be devastating. But the main's mined out, and the natural expansion is looking a bit thin. He just needs to start saturating some of these bases he's holding. But this could be a huge drop at really any location. It looks like he's going to try to target that bottom left-hand corner, though.
Yeah, but the majority of Dewalt's army is on the left side. So this could be a bad drop for him if he decides to commit there. Now Sziky has started to saturate the right side of the map. You can see that his Nat and third base already mined out, so should transfer drones from there pretty soon. But Dewalt, like I said, if he can stabilize the game, he's going to be in a good position, which it seems he has. He's almost maxed out now. He's got powerful upgrades. He's got reavers coming out.
Yeah, it's the decent upgrades on the opposite side. Keep in mind, you do have those zerglings that are going to hit that adrenal upgrade, and that with the filers can shred through things. There's only one reaver in that bottom left-hand corner currently to potentially deal with this. Sziky, I think, looking to strike early, take that. But so I think the trigger here is look for an attack along, there it is, along the right-hand side, and then simultaneously an attack along that left. Dewalt fights down on it, moving those troops to the right, and now we see a big drop with the swarm. There is a reaver there and a lot of Psy Storm to help, though.
Yeah, but I think this is going to get cleaned up. Maybe the Nexus will fall, but the Dark Swarm obviously crucial there, saving a lot of these units. But he's actually not target firing the Nexus. So for now, I would say that this drop is somewhat successful, but not game ending, of course. The Hydra attack comboed with Lings at the natural, going to get shut down too. And Dewalt has held this very nicely. Yeah, and he's going to lose a lot of Overlords.
Oof, he didn't just hold this well. He actually got really favorable exchanges. Yeah. Sidestorms a bunch of Overlords, put Sziky in the red. He took out a lot of those Zerglings. The Zerglings it didn't look like there was any micro happening for Sziky in the bottom left. And it looked like that attack just fizzled out alongside that right. So right now, Dewalt holds. And if he can continue to hold and continue to macro up and continue to rely on Sziky to not get that big bank and rebuild and kind of do more sacrificial attacks right there where there's just favorable changes for Dewalt, Dewalt will eventually climb back in this match.
Yep, and we do see bottom middle is up and running for Dewalt. So that's 6 bases for him. Overlord spots it, but I mean, you can't really do anything. Okay, I was going to say you can't do anything about it, but we see lurkers morphing barely in vision. So Dewalt's going to take care of that and transfer his probes to bottom middle, which were not, that base was not saturated at that moment. Meanwhile, yeah.
It's like going ahead and doing that probe transfer to see a couple lurk. Who cares? Just going to work. Not our problem. To saturate the 6 o'clock. And usually in like a base, this is kind of an interesting map to have a split map situation because you still have that minerals in the middle. So some nice storms here from Dewalt actually catching what looks like the Defiler, everything else. And this is exactly what Dewalt needs to do is, just engage here, expend a lot of resources on Dewalt, on the nice plague though. Expend a lot of resources on Sziky's side of the map and don't lose anything on your side.
Well, this is where it's going to get interesting for both sides because Dewalt is content with defending, and we know obviously the Zerg player is content with defending with lurkers. But if nobody makes a move, and Protoss gets into Carrier, Arbiter, Sair, Reaver, Storm, how do you actually fight that? But for now, we don't see any move into that tech choice. Actually, I'm a bit worried for Sziky because he's mined out 4 bases, and if you look what he actually has mining, it's just 3. I mean, 3 is still a lot. But
yeah, a lot of idle drones.
Yeah,
and that's honestly, I feel like if he had this saturated earlier, instead of being a little bit negligent on the drone transfer, he would have won this game by now. But instead, even though he's held a lot of these bases for a long period of time, he hasn't had them saturated as of yet. And there's also, you can see that Dark player hiding at the 3 o'clock location, no Overlord with this, so that is going to delay. So he wanted to take that. Let's see if he can get the drone to delay it even further.
Oh my god.
And gonna get, and so Dewalt just finding opportunity. and he's also got really good vision on his side of the map, just shelling up and doing those favorable trades. Kind of, honestly, this reminds me a bit of the Avi-Love match, where it's like, okay, let's just sit back and get better trades. Drop size from good plague right there, though.
Yeah, great plague there. I thought that this was going to be a good trade for Dewalt. He killed a lot of lings, but now that goons are falling left and right and DTs are wiping the drone line, it already has 12 kills. Looks like just barely in the nick of time. The Overlord pops out and it will get shut down. That was a nice counterattack from Dewalt. He's starting to take bottom left, and I still see no drone saturation at mid left. And it could, at this point, just become a resource game where Sziky may potentially just run out of money. He's got a fearsome army, but for now, Dewalt is having the favorable trades, I think.
Yeah, I think that's actually what it's turned into. Is Dewalt's done a better job of saturating these bases, doing interruptions on Zyky's. The drop didn't pull anything out. He's still denying this third, and he's getting great trades while he's doing so. Just favorable positions and just winning these small trades, these small army engagements. You can look at the minerals in the upper right-hand corner. Zyky's doing a good job spending them, but Dewalt's growing a bank.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Zyky's bank, I mean, it's just hovering around 500 minerals for the past few minutes. The Defiler's going to come in here and going to get off a great plague, which he does, but he's not finding success with any attack, really. And Dewalt, look at that bank. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and he just spent a ton of gas on something. I imagine it's probably Archons, and Archons don't care about plague. So,
yeah, and I think he's going to be able to fill that in. So, yeah, I think Dewalt's game plan from here is let's sit back. Let's, get these shots up. We'll drop Psystorm. I mean, you can, with gas, you can build a whole bunch of Templar and Archons. Sziky making a maneuver, running in, able to pick off a Dragoon, not able to get the Reaver, still trying to push forward and get something accomplished here.
Yeah, but it takes a long time to get into position with the Lurkers and Defilers, and the Storms are going to hit 2 or 3 Lurkers right there. He's going to take them out. But Sziky's sending in more and more reinforcements, but there's 3 Reavers here, comboed with a lot of Zealots and Archons, and there's multiple Storms. There's another Templar even behind the one that blew all of its energy. That's a lot of Lurkers clumped up. If he can focus fire them down, that would be a ton of lost damage output.
I think Zyky's being a little bit indecisive here. He has established his high ground, and I like that position because now he can attack either bottom left or that inside 6 o'clock location, but the Psystorms are continuing to be dropped. There's still 2 Reavers holding. The Lurkers moving in large groups. Psystorm everywhere. The Zerglings coming behind this. The Reavers are still there. They're pressing this. If this is one thing, if Sziky can take this base out, he will win the match, but it looks like as that was wiped out, there's nothing left for Sziky to continue to press in, and Dewalt now moving up and taking the high ground. 2 Defilers sitting there, they're eating Psystorm and Archon fire.
Sziky has a ton of supply, but he's not sending it all to bottom left. Okay, now you see a massive red flood from the left side and top right, and this is the moment that Sziky was looking for. He's killed all the Reavers. He's eliminated almost all of the Storm, but there's no Lurkers to support anymore. He even eats a Defiler because he needs the Dark Swarm. Dewalt scrambling to get into position. His army is what? Pure Templar? What happened to it? Where are the goons?
Can they get on top of that Nexus and pick it off is the next question. You got reinforcements, a huge Psystorm over a bunch of Zerglings reinforcing. You do have Zerglings under that Swarm, some Hydralisks grouping up. Keep in mind the buildings take damage under Dark Swarm. That Nexus falls. So Dewalt loses that Nexus, which is a huge shift in events. So he's going to have a cancellation. Let's see if that Reaver is able to clean up what's left. But that was a big win for Sziky.
But that Reaver shot killed 6 Hydras with a single Scarab. I thought that Sziky was going to pick off the shuttle in the Reaver, but it ends up being Dewalt saving the Reaver. He doesn't necessarily save the base because the Nexus falls, but at least he still has the main up and running. So he just transfers probes there. And Sziky now, I don't think we'll be able to bust this base because it's been redefended with multiple Reavers. Luckily, Sziky did pick off the Robo. Oh my God, that is a ton of red though.
There's Reavers, it looks like a handful of Dragoons. Oh, that shuttle's going to be exposed versus those Scourge, but great defense. Psystorm dropping everywhere. The Dragoons have Zerglings right on top of them. There is an Archon to potentially help out with the Zealot, but it looks like there's just too much red from Sziky flooding forward. It's going to clear the rest of this out. It's pushing in to the rest of this natural expansion, going to clean up the cannons, make sure that Nexus can't reestablish, maybe go for additional attacks into the main. Dewalt is trying to take the 3 o'clock location in the midst of this, but Sziky refusing to let this base stand.
Well, that might have been an overstep because a lot of the lurkers are out of range of the cannons, and you can see multiple of them die, but there's still a 6 lurker defense set up. The lurker got loaded up into that overlord, so we got to keep an eye on where that gets repositioned. Could be repositioned behind the third base, could be repositioned into the bottom middle base, and there's a lot of probes there. Sziky is, I would say, running out of money, though. He's got 3 bases at top right. I can see one of them's being mined out, that third base. And again, there's a lot of idle drones.
Yeah, those idle drones are absolutely killer. Sziky needs to find them or reposition them. And also, that 3 o'clock base could be the thing that switches the game. It looks like Lurker's able to get behind those lines. The probes now moving out. Now Dewalt down to 1 mining base. And if Sziky can keep this up, this will be absolutely huge. That could be the thing that pushes him over the top.
Yeah, exactly. Finally, he finds those drones at top middle, not mining, and he's going to be transferring to mid left, and it's a critical moment for him because both players are going to be low econ in the next few minutes. Plagues hit everything, and comboed with the Dark Swarm negates all of the damage from the goons, also the Archon. So really, the only things that can deal damage here are these Plague Zealots, which we know are going to get eaten alive. The Storms are fantastic, but actually, he's going to push this back for now simply because Sziky has not committed a big army here.
Dewalt distance mining at that 3 o'clock. The reinforcements being softened up. I don't know if they're going to be able to punch through those lurkers and clean it up. A bunch of zerglings being built in the upper right corner. I think that 3 o'clock location is critical, actually. I think Sziky needs to take that out of Dewalt's control, get that in his hands. Otherwise, this could turn into kind of a later match, and that would be like the critical base to hold. It's kind of you talk about split map. If Dewalt can retake bottom left, that is going to be the difference here. But because usually even base mining, if you can get it, especially with the exchanges that Dewalt's been getting, Sziky might end up mining out. But finally, some troops able to get here in the bottom left-hand corner to clean up that lurker, to get this bottom left base mining again. But Sziky continuing to pour out troops, but he's just pouring them out like water. He is not trying to hold anything back. He's not trying to be efficient at all. He's just like, I'm just going to slam into you and wipe these bases out.
Yeah, and he may be able to wipe them all out. The only base mining, like you said, is bottom middle. Now bottom left got up and running. That mineral, or that third base at bottom left, still doesn't have any probes there. Finally, a Nexus goes up at mid right, but he's long distance mining. It's a 40 supply lead for Sziky right now. More Templars are moving across the map, but you got to have support with them. They're going to get picked off by Lings and Hydras. Lings and Hydras going to flood into this bottom left base, and this is going to fall, I think. Dewalt scrambling to get units, but his units are just slower than Sziky's.
They're slower. They're also those adrenal upgraded zerglings, just 2-3 things extremely rapidly. Might be a lurker egg blocking the difference. More lurkers being morphed on the high ground. It looks like Dewalt is going to be able to hold this, however, but more troops have been morphed in the interim, and Sziky all of a sudden with a big supply lead. There's no Reavers being built on spot to help defend this bottom left-hand corner as well, and everything that's left outside of that 3 o'clock base is basically mined out for Dewalt.
Yeah, but Ziki's not sending his whole army. I mean, this is still a formidable army comboed with the Defilers, but he needs, well, maybe he doesn't need to add more. That's a great plague hitting a lot of the Reavers. The Storm are fantastic, though, but he doesn't have much left. But Sziky, I guess, has decided that this angle's not going to work. Instead, he's going to morph a lot of lurkers in the center of the map. That's a ton of isolated Templars. He's going to catch 2 of them.
And expend a lot of Sidestorm otherwise. The Zerglings swing around trying to pick them off. Looks like the Hydralisks are going to kill those softened Dragoons on the left-hand side. Some stuff additionally morphing. I'm looking for more reinforcements from Sziky. He's continuing to drop plagues, trying to morph. These armies are just staring at each other right now. The cancellation. And Sziky, it looks like he's going to have to back off until additional reinforcements get here. There are Archons, there are Zealots. Looks like there are Reavers somehow in that upper left-hand corner. That could be the difference, is those Reavers on the high ground.
Yeah, Dewalt has done such a great job to defend bottom left, but it's just so much Zerg. The Reavers have put in work, so have the Storms. He's on 2 base mining, which is still okay versus what Sziky has. He's now finally found the angle to come through the ramp at the bottom side, and he's getting a lot of units onto the high ground now. Sziky may need to actually turn around and think of a different angle to attack. Big Storm, they're going to hit 2 lurkers. They're going to fall. Another Storm is going to hit 2 lurkers, and those should fall. The Observers have not been taken out, so the Reavers can continue to pound on them. Okay, here we go. Now Ziki's going to send even more units, but this is still not the entirety of his army.
Yeah, it looks like he's engaging. He's also engaging piecemeal, so it looks like a lot, but never mind. The lurkers, but huge Psystorms killing a bunch of bunched up troops. The Archon looked like it's going to get picked off summarily. Not a lot of a defense force force left to try to defend this bottom left-hand base. And I think if this bottom left-hand base gets wiped out, that's a potential GG from Dewalt, but there's only Zerglings and Hydralisk. Zyki's still pouring through. More reinforcements coming. The Reaver on the high ground. The high ground's now been seeded. The Archon trying to do what it can. You can see it's just scrambling to attack left and right. A lot of Lurkers, a lot of Zerglings, and everything else now peeling into this left-hand base.
Yeah, he's been breached, and you can see there's almost no reinforcements from Dewalt coming across the map. And there's no way to even save the probes anymore. So these are all going to die. This base can never get taken again because Lurkers can just deny the ramp. And now Dewalt, I think this is just over. It's a 70 supply lead. There's too much Zerg, too much eco. It's only Zealots and DTs. There's no way you're going to beat Lurkers with an army like this.
Yeah, you got you don't want melee units like this against Lurkers, particularly going up against high ground where they can just splash you in continuum. But the Lurker's not burrowing in the meantime for Zyki. He needs to burrow those Lurkers to take this attack force out. Otherwise, Dewalt's going to be able to march in with what's left. Finally burrowing what's left, but eating a Psystorm between what's left. But I think Zyki, he just has too much of a supply lead at this stage. I think this is a cleanup operation now. Dewalt's losing additional troops. He's still holding the 3 o'clock base, and he's still got it looks like the inside, what would usually be the third in the bottom left. But otherwise, Zyki's everywhere else and has a huge troop count lead and just has a lot to work with.
Yeah, Zyki's got this game. He's even taking the center of the map. That's when you know that it's lights out for your opponent. We can see that Dewalt does have mid-right, like you said, but that's basically the only mining base because bottom left is basically gone. So 1 base Protoss versus still 3 base Zerg. Zyki moving in for the killing blow. He knows this is the only remaining base for Dewalt, and it's a 100 supply lead. There's a Dark Swarm, so cannons don't do anything. And we're going to see the GG any moment now.
Yeah, Lurker's even able to attack up the high ground and clear out the probe line. Plague up on the high ground. Just kind of a cleanup operation to take here, where he's just able to soften everything up and just cast stuff over the edge. It's kind of like, throwing a rock over a cliff and just waiting for it to hit water at this stage is really what it feels like from Zyki's point of view. Also, I wouldn't be shocked if he just moves in a drone and takes bottom left. He can, at this stage, take bottom left himself. I don't think he's making movements to do so, but just continuing to flood troops in. Scourge looked like it connected on that shuttle. There's still a Reaver, but now encroaching further, and those are Adrenal upgraded Zerglings. Abs under Swarm, attacking everything there.
Yeah, the Reaver is a hero, though. It's got 24 kills. The problem is one Reaver can't do it all. He's got to have some support, and with the Hydras breaching the Nexus and with the Reaver about to fall, this is going to be it. He's giving up this base, and without any mining coming in for Dewalt, this is going to be game over any moment now. I guess he has started to take bottom left again. He's mining there, but
looks like some drones wanted to distance mine that bottom left-hand corner. Instead, before they're even able to do so, the Zealots and that's got to be like happy Zealots are like, oh, he's just trying to take that Nexus. He's like, okay, let me just, while Zyki's preoccupied, let me desperately try to take this Nexus, see if I can hold it, try to take out what's here. But I think that is the last army we're maybe going to see out of Dewalt.
Yeah, I don't see any army anywhere else. I don't see even anything coming out of his gateways. He's not even using his money because if he uses it, he can't build another Nexus. Hatchery being taken. Bottom left, Zyki saying, get out of my game, dude. This is not your base. This is mine. Nexus dies, wasn't even canceled. So that's 400 minerals down the drain. And that Reaver, I think, is the one from mid-right. He's got so many kills, but he finally dies. And Dewalt, he's got a GG. He has nothing.
Yeah, so he's trying to mine up. Yeah, there's GG. Incredible match, and Zyki takes it. He's going to advance, but honestly, I would not be shocked to see Dewalt make it out of this bracket, and we could see this exact matchup much later in BSL. But Zyki showing, honestly, that he is a contender for champion. I think when people talk about the top players out there, they're like Bonnet, Dewalt, and now I think you got to add Zyki to that list. Zyki, potentially the one last remaining Zerg, depending on what happens with Avi-Love with these games moving forward, but showing that he is a player who can win it all.
Yeah, and he takes down the favorite, or one of the favorites, to win the whole tournament in Dewalt. And remember the opening, Diggity, where Zyki built, 20 lings? He tried to bust an at, and it did nothing. And he still recovered, went to late game, and he had, I would say, a lead probably the whole game. There was no point in that game where I thought, okay, Dewalt's going to win here. There was never a real threat to Zyki at any point.
What really looked next level from Zyki in those matches to me was his ability to use Scourge particularly to box out Corsair to allow especially the mid-game troop dance was just fantastic from Sziky. And I was a little concerned there that he was expending a lot of troops, and if he didn't break through, if he didn't capitalize, that Dewalt was going to be able to just get the long-term win with the resources. However, able to punch through, just relentless attacks, is finally able to group some stuff up. And as soon as honestly, I feel like the turning point where it just was over is finally when Sziky transferred those drones that were idle.
Yeah.
As soon as that happened, you just ran away with the match.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that means that we finally get a Zerg into the round of 8. Dewalt not out of it just yet. He's going to be waiting in the elimination match, or no, the decider match. So we're going to be going into a break, and then we will go into the actual elimination match. It's going to be Avi-Love versus Xin. Someone's going to be moving on versus Dewalt. Someone's going to be eliminated. So don't go anywhere, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We just saw one of the best matches we've seen in all of BSL. Amazing ZVP between Sziky and Dewalt, but this group's not over. We've still got our elimination match, and we've still got our deciders match. And I saw a few donations come in the middle of the matches. You can see that we still have our, wrong hand. We still got our $5,000 donation goal. We're a little bit off. So make sure you consider donating to the BSL if you like and want to support the BSL. Remember, we also have the shop. You can support that way. We also have Patreon, and you can also sub. So definitely consider doing that if you want to continue to see some more fantastic BSL action. But now we're going to be going into our elimination match, and this is going to be exciting. It's going to be Avi-Love, who looked pretty good versus Sziky, but in the end, Sziky a little bit too strong. But he's going to be going up against Xin, who unfortunately fell to Dewalt. But I would say Xin had build order advantage in at least the second game, but not able to transition it into a victory.
You know, this game kind of reminds me of like one of those anime battles where, and I'm hoping it turns into one of those fun rivalries where on one side you have Xin, who's kind of like, the glasses guy, where it's, puts on the glasses, and the shiny, where it's like calculated 5 moves ahead. And you have Avi-Love on the other side where he's just kind of like laughing on top of the whatever in the background, just like completely catching his opponent off guard at every turn. And so it's kind of like you have like the calculated general versus like the wild general on either side of the match. And so I think this could be really fun. And thus far, this has been an epic day for games. Every single game thus far has been pretty incredible, in my opinion.
Yeah, it has been great, and I hope the trend continues, and I think it's going to, because Avi-Love has a completely different style than Sziky in ZVP. He really loves the heavy upgrade, heavy hive, and on ladder, I don't think that's something you run into often as Protoss. So this may catch Xin off guard. You also don't even see zergs take split map hatcheries either. Like usually the hatchery is at a third base, very close to your natural. So this should be exciting to see what Avi-Love is going to pull out. It's likely we're going to get late game. And I really want to see how Xin responded, because Dewalt responded pretty well to the split map scenario. But in the end, the macro is just too beastly from Sziky.
Either way, yeah, whoever wins this goes on to face Dewalt on the other side, which is like a great prospect. So it's kind of like, you got to stare each other down, and then you got to be sweating because you've got that huge sledgehammer that's coming around the corner too. So I'm wondering if you don't want to look ahead, but at the same time, I'm wondering if both of these guys want to try to make it more of a faster victory in order to be a little bit more, to not be tired out or something along those lines, to be fresh going up against Dewalt. My guess is that won't play a factor though between these two. I'm just saying stuff to say stuff at commentator stage, but yeah, I'm just thinking part of it is I feel like this could be a really fun match, but both of these guys with Dewalt waiting in the wings is just scary. It's kind of like it's like you beat this guy and it's like leveling up to the true guy that's around the corner in the shadows.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what our map is going to be. Okay, there it is. It's going to be Eclipse. And when we see this screen, that means that our players are ready. So let's get into game 1 of our elimination match. It's going to be Avi-Love versus Xin. Right in the top right, our Chinese Protoss. It is Xin.
And in the bottom left, as the blue Zerg, we have Avi-Love.
Yeah, so we have we seen Xin PVZ yet? I have to reload our Liquipedia. If you want to see the results of all of BSL and history of BSL, definitely check out Liquipedia. A lot of stats there that you can check out.
I think Avi-Love, hopefully, I'm hoping to see some fight for some Zerg pride here, because there's, again, not a lot of Zerg left. If he can get through, it would be shocking if 2 Zerg made it out of this bracket. I got to admit, like, looking at this, I thought the odds were going to be tough, just period. But yeah, it would be nice to see some Zerg make it out. In the meantime, while you're looking that up, looks like we are seeing a pylon at the standard position here, so nothing crazy for Xin. I wouldn't be shocked to see him just go for a Forge first opener, going ahead and getting that scout. And we are seeing an extractor trick off what looks like, I think, is going to be an overpool build here, but we'll see momentarily.
Yeah, we'll see what Avi-Love wants to go for. And again, this is a fast scout. This time around, I think the probe is intending to just block the natural, but I could be wrong. Oh, Overlord, for some reason, makes a right hook and sees that the probe is going to be there. And Avi-Love, just like on Butter, with a sneaky drone placement, he's going to 10 hatch at mid left.
And this might, yeah, this is what I was talking about, Abby, with, yeah, kind of the off guard sort of thing. And if he drops a pool behind this, keep in mind this is a 10 hatch, not a 12 hatch. You can flood with a lot of Zerglings to follow this up. And so if Xin misreads this and doesn't realize what's happening and doesn't notice the timing on the spawning pool and things like that, and tries to go for Nexus first and doesn't get sufficient defenses behind this and plays a little bit off guard, this could be dangerous.
Well, behind this, Xin is going to go Nexus, and he may even go Gate follow-up. It could be. Nope, this is just going to be a Forge. He's going to play it safe because this was a relatively fast pool, despite it not being pool first. Now, the probe got off the first hit there, so you got to be careful. Meanwhile, whenever I see builds like this, I always think about, well, okay, you got a 10 hatch and you got a fast pool, relatively speaking. But if you looked at that larva at his hatchery, it was idle for a long time. So I'm not sure exactly how this is going to play out. Now, whoa, that was a 205 gas. So Avi-Love going heavy tech already.
We'll see what he follows us up with. It looks like no cannons as of yet. It looks like he wants to see whether the Zerglings spawn or not. Never mind, 2 cannons being dropped. And I think that this is one of those things where it goes out of my gap of knowledge on Eclipse, is whether the Zerglings, especially if it might be 8lings more, because you've got the additional larva that's potentially the 9 o'clock location. It looks like that is being spawned there. Whether this is going to be sufficient to defend or not. So 6 Zerglings spawning here. There, I believe that might be 2 Zerglings to the north. The 2 cannons warping in. There is the gateway in the way. But let's see if Xin. No, it looks like he's just going to blockade. So you're right. Just wants to go move more towards sec. This is the problem with Avi-Love. It's hard to tell what he's doing at a given point in time because he's such a creative and sometimes erratic player.
Yeah, even I'm struggling to see what the move is here. You have to remember, also, Avi-Love didn't scout at all. So until now, he has no idea whether this was Gate Expand, was it Forge first, was it Nexus first? He doesn't know. Now he's going to come in and see that, okay, well, cannons are up, but did he build a Forge first? Probably not. But I actually thought Avi-Love might cancel speed and go for a fast layer, but that's not the case. He's going to let speed continue. Second probe was sent out, so he is going to come in and try and get some intel, but with 2 lings on hold position, which I really do love, Protoss is going to be in the dark.
I think he's got to snip this out, though. You've got 2 lings blocking that ramp. You know that there's a second base up. The timing of it was a little bit off and weird. I have to assume he knows that this is going to be, some sort of 2-base play.
Yeah, as soon as I saw the gas being mined, as fast as it was, I was thinking this has to be lurkers, and that's exactly what it is. And the probe being denied is going to be painful for Xin because, all he saw was gas was being mined. This could have been a lair. It could have been Hydra Den with no lair. This could have been 2-hatch Hydra all in. He has no idea. It's of course not going to be Ling all in because that would be almost impossible to bust, but he's going to have to make a judgment call on what this is, and unfortunately for him, I don't think the Stargate's going to help him very much.
Nope. He's, and it looks like minerals are saving for Avi in between. So we'll see if this plays off. And I'm wondering if it's going to be one of with the layered tech behind it, if it's going to be the slow lurker drop into the main, or if it's just going to be a Hydra bust or a lurker. There's just a lot of stuff Avi could pull out of this. It's Avi. There is a preventative third cannon being, so something snipped in the air here for Xin. So he is going to go ahead and drop that third cannon. But yeah, we'll see. It's going to come down to, I think, potentially a bit of micro and execution here from Avi.
Yeah, I think that the Stargate, actually, the more I'm thinking about it, is fine. Okay, this is the perfect read. He goes for Robo. Like I said, seeing this opener, I initially thought this has to be lurkers, but you never know with Zerg because they are so sneaky. It could have been some weird just all-in Hydra attack or mutas. So going into Reaver or Robo, is going to be fantastic. But behind this, it's not like Avi-Love's all in because he's taking a hatchery. He is building a lot of units right now, but it looks like he's going to try and transition out of this.
Yeah, for a minute there, I thought this was going to be potentially a drop, but the Overlord wasn't positioning towards that upper corner to go for that sort of play. So I think instead what he's doing is he's just trying to get quick lurkers potentially with these Hydralists to go for a bit of a faster contain, it'll be a little bit more troop heavy here, and then get 3 bases established that way.
Oh, well, I love how Avi-Love showed the Hydras and then morphed the lurkers, because that's why right there you see a lot of cannons going up. And he doesn't necessarily have to attack into this. He could just set up a contain and sit there. Also, like you said, it could be drops. And if an Overlord was able to get in, he would be able to shut down the mineral line. Now, we see more and more lings, so I'm getting a little bit worried now that there's going to be no eco behind this, because you're not busting this, I don't think. Here come 4 lurkers. He needs to knock down those zealots, though, but he's focusing down the cannons.
So it looks like he's going for it. The lurkers, however, eating a huge amount of cannon fire. There are a bunch of cannons stacked behind this. The zealot holding the line, and he gets nothing. The Zerglings spend a lot of time sprinting around doing absolutely nothing. So 4 lurkers dying, a bunch of Zerglings being expended, and literally nothing being grabbed there by Avi. I thought he was just going to sit down and go for a potential contain and try to macro behind it as kind of like a weird transition into 4 bases. But now he's basically got half the supply. And it's starting to look like Corsair Reaver.
It could be Corsair Reaver. It could just be a mass goon. Okay, there's the Reaver. Like you said, it could be goon follow-up. He's got the Cybernetic spinning, but that's going to be for the Sairs. And now that the Sair count is at 3 and all the Hydras got erased from them. Oh, wow. He just taps out. That all-in did not work out at all. And unfortunately, Avi-Love's cute opening build just backfires completely. I think he just sent the lings at the wrong time, because actually if you send the lings first, I realize they're going to get killed fast, but then the lurkers can shoot down cannons real fast. And you saw like 3 lurkers died before lings even got there.
Yeah, so honestly, I feel like that Overlord along that southern corner should have been able to spot the cannon line, and Avi should have just maybe not gone for it there. But this is Avi's style. Avi says, I'm going to throw something unorthodox, and then my opponent's going to adjust to it or not. And if they don't, I win. And if they do, I lose. And that's just kind of his style. That's his way of going about doing things. And so throwing the lurkers at the natural expansion is completely sealed up. The cannon's obliterating everything, and Zergling's not able to get purchased, even being able to attack the gateway. So quick game 1. I did like Xin's play altogether. It looked like he had it read top to bottom, and I kind of liked the response actually to go for Corsair Reaver with the cannons to try to adjust and deal with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think Xin's response was great. But now he's 1 game away from moving into the Deciders match versus Dewalt, which we already saw earlier. But now what's funny here is I think if Xin has watched Avi-Love's games, CVP, there's only one move for Avi-Love, and it's the Hive Tech play, because that seems to be his go-to build in general. And like I said, I've never seen him lose with it. So this could be the ultra mind game. Like, hey, I've never played you before. Hey, look, I'm an all-inner. Check, look at this lurker ling attack. And then the next 2 games, he just plays the most macro heavy Hive Tech play you ever seen. That would be the biggest brain play I've ever seen.
Throwing out a game in BSL against an unknown opponent just to kind of get the feel of it, and then seeing whether, test the water to see whether you can get the Hive Tech play to follow. That would be next level if he can pull it off. I really want to see it. Now that you say it, I really want to see it. I hope that's what we're in for in the next couple games.
Yeah, I really do think that that's the move. If he plays anything other than Hive Tech, I would be very surprised, because every time he's done something else, Well, not every time. I mean, he does have success with other plays, but that seems to be his strongest style by far. Like, it's not even close. I see him take down even the superstar Protoss players, Oyuji, Dewalt, and I can't remember if Bonnet he played in previous seasons, but Metaverse is a map where you do see this type of style. So let's get into game 2. It's going to be Avi-Love on his last leg going up against Xin. So in the bottom right, one game away from moving into another rematch versus Dewalt, it is Xin.
And in the upper left-hand corner, as the blue Zerg, we have Avi-Love.
Yeah, so Metaverse, we just saw an epic game between Sziky and Dewalt. If you guys are just tuning in, you need to rewind to that game. I mean, I was going to say if there's only one game you watch, it's that one, but now I remember Sziky versus Avi-Love. So there's actually 2 games you need to watch. The first game on Monopoly between those two, and then definitely the Metaverse game between Dewalt and Sziky. Absolutely epic.
Looks like that probe scout's going to be scouting bottom left-hand corner first. This is cross map spawn. I'm almost wondering to see Xin showing some. I'm wondering if the Corsair Reaver was something he just wanted to do, or if it was just a flat response to the two-hatch lurker play. But this is a map where that's possible, so I'm almost hoping to see that, just to see a bit of variety. I always love seeing the Corsair Reaver.
Yeah.
One thing for Xin, though, when I've seen him play previously, what I really liked about his play in particular versus Zerg is where other players they'll go up kind of to the shelled third base, and it'll be an unfavorable situation, and they'll just throw their zealots in anyway and end up losing a lot of units. Where I've seen Xin, he'll actually dance those units around. He'll, keep them in his opponent's face and force his opponent to build a lot of units. And then he just kind of keeps them hidden and moves them around the map and spreads, even though he keeps his units very cohesive, and I like his decision-making all the way around. And basically, my concern for Avi-Love trying to go into a more macro-oriented map and get towards that high-tech play is, will he survive? Will he survive Xin and his ability to just dance around and really have, where I feel like he has that strongest edge is on those timing attacks, and on having the troop movement and the decision making kind of on the edge, on the very late edge of mid-game play.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, we do see, however, a forge opener from Xin, and the probe was moving into position like it wanted to cannon rush, but drone gonna deny that from happening, at least for now. And again, the probe gets the first shot off, so Avi-Love needs to be careful there. But because this was a hatch first, and because Xin scouted him so quickly, again, it's another fast nexus after the forge, and he even gets a gateway up before building a cannon. So this is going to be a really streamlined opener from Xin. Now, as I stated, Avi-Love really does love the split map high tech play, and you can see already a drone at top right. So I really do think he's going to take that natural.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I do want to see that style play, and I want to see what Xin does. Yeah, never mind. He's bottom left-hand corner, grabbing the natural expansion there. And he's also, is he going to go for 4 out of nowhere? Because he's still got a drone. I think that was a scouting drone, actually, that just got lost in the scouting pattern. Didn't scout bottom right yet, but you're right. Absolutely streamlined. Gateway up, forge first, and also eyes in the base to see the Zerglings at cross position. I don't even know that cannon was necessary at this stage.
Yeah, this is not the mini style where you go cybernetics before a cannon, but still a very great opener from Xin. And meanwhile, Avi-Love just now starting to mine gas. So this is going to be a very slow Spire in comparison to the Stargate follow-up.
And he's definitely going to need those Mutalisks, or at least some sort of map control in the mid-game to help defend that bottom left-hand corner base, because it is quite a distance away from his main.
Well, Probe has done a good job to stay alive for upwards of 4 minutes right now, but he's going to be pushed out, and I always get weary when Protoss gets pushed out at this moment, because you can see Avi-Love has more than 100 gas. Where's that going? It's not into lair. It's not into speed. I think this might actually be double Hydrogen. Nope, he just spent 200 somewhere, so I guess it's... Oh, it's Sheen's gas. My bad. I was looking, I was like, there's no way he's floating 200 gas.
We are seeing the robotics facility again, so whoa. Looks like, yeah, we might see Corsair Reaver here.
Corsair Reaver, the legendary build, and this is an evolution chamber rush from Avi-Love. He's not even mining any more gas. Like, he's just stuck at 180. So this is going to be armor. There it is. But what's the follow-up? I mean, you got to have gas for hive at least. Got to have gas for speed. This is weird.
I wonder if this is going to be all-in Zergling off 3 hatch and try to push it from there. And depending on when the Reavers come out, might be able to swat that down fairly quickly. But if he catches it, potentially, before then, Xin getting a Zealot in the base as well.
Look at this. He's going to come in here and see you're not mining gas. Okay, well, wait, what are you doing then? So already, oh yeah, he needs to get onto gas. Oh, Xin does not see the gas just yet. Okay, he does, but does he notice that the drones aren't mining? Maybe he'll think like the drones got pulled to the main. I don't know. This would be very hard to actually make a impromptu read right now. But yeah, this could be the mass 3-hatch link that you're talking about. Unfortunately for him, Avi-Love sees a support bay and is probably thinking, uh-oh, well, I can't bust Cannon Reaver, that's for sure.
Yeah, now he's switching back to the Hydra. So I think that might have been it. Now he's switching back to the Hydralisk then. It looks like he scooted some drones back on gas. He's going to try to move the game and kind of going, okay, let me try to shell things up from here. That Overlord's also going to get taken out, putting him in the red. But this, I think, all the way around plays well for Xin.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a better opener for Xin because there's no tech really for Avi-Love. Oh, okay, he does find the sweet spot right there to take down that Overlord, and supply block is going to hurt. And unfortunately for Avi-Love, well, I don't know. I mean, maybe he wanted to open like this. I mean, I feel like there's no counter to the Reaver right now.
No counter to the Reaver. It looks like Xin actually, so he's going to have the Reaver. He has the Reaver tech up, but he's got no Stargate.
Oh, no.
And he's popping additional gateways down, and this Zealot able to walk right in. This is what I was concerned about is, yeah, getting to that bottom left-hand corner. I don't know when defenses are even going to be able to get here. And Xin can continue to harass this, honestly, for a long period of time without Mutalisks in the air, without map control. He can just keep sending units to be annoying as hell.
Even with full vision, I didn't even see that Zealot get out. So I don't know where it was hidden, but he did a really good job to hide it. And Avi-Love, of course, was caught completely off guard. This is going to be a 5-gate goon Reaver follow-up. And this was a build that a lot of, well, actually even 6-gate goon, potentially. This is a build that a lot of, or maybe not a lot, but Movie pulled out on Heartbreak Ridge. At least I think it's going to be goon. That Cybernetics has been spinning for a long time. There's no Sair, right? There's no Stargate.
Yeah, there's no Stargate.
Yeah.
So both players, who's going to be the more creative player here? It looks like Xin might out Avi-Love here. He's got the Dragoons marching forward, going to go ahead and clear out those Lings. This could be very, very powerful, particularly considering how exposed that bottom left-hand corner is.
Yeah, but Avi-Love did see 2 goons. He may be thinking, why do you have 2 goons? Like, you can make 1 to kill an Overlord, but why are there multiple goons? So he may have already sniffed this out, that this is going to be Goon Reaver. And this is a really hard style to actually have favorable engagements as Zerg. You really just have to have a lot of stuff. That's what you have to have. Avi-Love does have good econ, but I don't think he has the critical mass to actually take it down. But you have to remember, we already saw Dewalt versus Sziky on Metaverse earlier, and Dewalt had amazing trades on high ground. So Avi-Love's going to have to pick his angle correctly if he wants to take down these 2 Reavers comboed with goons.
And kind of a trick for Avi is he did have that early evolution chamber, so that is giving him a +1 carapace upgrade. But against Reavers, especially depending on how well the Reaver shots go, it's not going to pay out because armor doesn't help when a single shot does your full health. It does a complete explosion and takes out your entire unit's health in a single shot anyway. But another evolution chamber being dropped, and a spire behind this. So Avi looking to continue that upgrade advantage and try to hold here. But yeah, I think you're right. There needs to be meat, something in the way to just swarm and take down this attack that's moving out now for Xin.
Well, this is going to hurt for Avi-Love. Okay, he does remember his Hydras attacking the temples at top right, so he's going to move them down to bottom left and trying to defend. But you can see there's already a 40 supply lead for Xin right now.
Yeah, and a lot of that was because of whatever was going on in the early game that I don't think panned out for Avi.
Oh my gosh, Avi-Love already gave up a high ground. I don't know how you can ever engage this if you don't have high ground here. Goons on high ground versus Hydras on low ground with Reaver support behind the goons. And he's going to lose a hatchery basically for free. Oh no, cannot come up that tiny ramp, Avi-Love.
So took out the shuttle, so that's at least something. But yeah, these reavers are just marching forward.
no.
They're well grouped now, but there is a pincer attack opportunity. So Avi trying to gauge from that right-hand side. Unfortunately, the unit's getting caught. He's able to pick off both reavers, but there's still a ton of dragoons. And Zealots also engaging. The Hydralisk's not able to get. There's more reinforcements in the form of Zerglings trying to come from the north. But this is looking like an overwhelming attack force, plus reinforcements making their way this direction for Xin.
Yeah, a big move command from Avi-Love. He got the Reaver. That was the best angle he could have hoped for, isolated Reaver. But the goons on the high ground are doing work. They've killed everything. You saw the Hydras get bottled up on that ramp at the low ground, and that's it. GG comes out from Avi-Love, and what looked like a potential free hatch Ling-All-In with the Carapace upgrade completely shut down by a single support base spotted. And unfortunately, Avi-Love had to transition, and he just did not streamline his build like Xin did.
I'm disappointed as Zerg got eliminated because I like seeing Zerg in the tournament, like seeing the racial spread, but also sad because Avi's a fun player to have in this grouping, and I hope to see him in future seasons. I know he said like, oh, I didn't put in a ton of practice like I wanted to, and I was surprised I got as far as I did, but I'm not. I think Avi's a solid player. Now, though, we're going to look forward to Dewalt versus Xin again, and maybe Xin learned something from the initial matches, but honestly, he had build order leads in both games, and Dewalt was still able to pull out those matches. So I don't know, proxy 2-gate, something I would come up with. I would start getting creative, but we saw from these last two matches, Xin's a creative guy, so I'm hoping to see it.
Yeah, he's going to need to have something special to take down the monster Dewalt, who's waiting for him in the Deciders match. That was a quick series, but we're going to go into a break, and then we'll come back with the final series of the day. Protoss guaranteed to make it out, so that's great for Protoss. It is going to be Xin versus Dewalt. It's going to be another epic match, so don't go anywhere. We're back, guys, and this is going to be a rematch of our second series of the day. Xin making a comeback versus Avi-Love, and he's going to be rewarded with Dewalt in the final match of the day. And we have to say that Xin had what I think was a build order advantage in both games, but Dewalt still got the victory. So he's gonna need something special. And I would say luckily for him, he just got to play on Metaverse, because that's gonna be the starting map for our final series.
Yeah, and honestly, after the first, I would just move straight to cheese. I would say, okay, I got a 2-gate, I got a... Especially because, yeah, it looked like build order leads in both those previous matches versus Dewalt, but Dewalt out-executed you and did it in the midst of what I assume is some decent lag. So, yeah, this is a scary match to go into if you're Xin, and I want to see what he pulls out, because he does seem like he's one of those more creative guys.
Yeah, his gate expand into triple gate seems to be a very solid build. Actually, when I was watching the game on Eclipse between him and Dewalt, I was thinking back to my own games on ladder, Terran versus Terran, where, if you remember, on Eclipse, he was setting up to take a third base, but meanwhile behind it, Dewalt had gone into 6-gate follow-up. And I don't think Xin saw it, so he was caught in between this transition where he wants to take a base, but not necessarily building units. And I find that happens to me a lot in TVT, where I just get caught taking too many bases and my factory count's too low. I think Xin should review that game and think like, maybe I can't take a third base so fast. Maybe I need to go into, 6-gate with Citadel and Forge or something like that before thinking about taking a third base. Because when Dewalt saw the opportunity to just kill him, he capitalized on it. And again, our players are ready. Let's get into our first map of the series. It's going to be Metaverse. So in the top right, our Russian Protoss, it is Dewalt.
And in the bottom right is our blue Chinese Protoss. We have Xin. And actually, we'll see if he goes for that. I kind of do like the 3-gate opener he was doing previously on Metaverse in particular.
Yeah, and I think this is a good map for it, because you're going to have high ground advantage, and you don't even really have to move out very far from your base. So high ground advantage with high production, even if the Reavers, or even if it's a fast Reaver follow-up from Dewalt. A lot of times Reavers bug out with ramps. So I, again, would like to see that. But I kind of want to see Dewalt just go fast Citadel. Like, both games, this guy skipped Robo for a long time. Punish this guy, dude. That's what I would be thinking. But I'm sure Xin is thinking the same thing. Like, hey, I know that you know I skipped Robo, so you may go Citadel, so I'm going to go fast Robo this time. I mean, at top level, there's always mind games like that, especially when you have a couple games or more history versus each other. Now, interesting scout from Xin right there. I don't know what he was looking for, but he went to the natural, and now, okay, I just don't know what this is.
That was actually another notable thing in the previous first two matches is Dewalt did not send out a probe scout. He basically just sat in his base and gathered that extra mineral and still read the match after that. I wouldn't be shocked to see this go to a mid game though, given it looks like we are seeing finally so Dewalt is going to scout this time, it looks like, and it looks like he's going to get first scout as well. So not good news for Xin, but it looks like Xin is opening 2-gate.
Yeah, and Dewalt, unfortunately, not going to find Xin first, so he's going to have no one. Okay, he's going over to the right side. I thought he was going to cross scout, which we've seen Gosudark do a couple times, but not the case. And unfortunately for Xin, well, actually, I would say fortunately, he didn't get a glimpse of that probe because he may have moved, or he may have thought Dewalt was on the left side. So now he's going to scout first also, and Dewalt, seeing this 2-gate, he's going to be able to respond with the Zealot pretty quickly.
Yeah, and on this map in particular, I don't like 2-gate because of how small that ramp is, and with that weird vertical new thing. But it looks like there is going to be at least a first scout. But knowing Dewalt, I would not be shocked that you'd be able to hold this, especially Metaverse is a larger map, and that's a long distance to traverse for those Zealots.
We may even see a second Zealot for Dewalt. He was supply blocked, so we don't know what the second unit coming out of the gateway is, but it is a tiny choke, or tiny ramp, I mean, so not a lot of surface area for 2-gate to get damage on, but I think 2 Zealots, if they are positioned correctly, should be able to hit twice onto a single Zealot. Meanwhile, Probe's still alive. That's a bit annoying. And Dewalt has not used his gas yet, so there is potential for this to be Citadel follow-up or range or, fast Robo or something. Look at that Probe buying so much time onto that third Zealot.
Yeah, really blocking that third Zealot out. So there's going to be and the first Dragoon is out on the opposite side. So Dewalt might have to pull a probe, but he's going to go ahead and get some free shots. Nope, missed that first shot. The first shot was canceled, and it looks like that Dragoon going to take a little bit of damage, but this is also buying additional time to get up that ramp. And where's the Zealot that was chasing it? So he's just going to seed the ramp. Nice shift back from Xin. This Zealot's holding the back area, looking to engage. There has been some shred here on the health of all these Zealots. The Zealot's still working on the Dragoon rather than making their way, and the second Dragoon has popped. One Zealot down, the second Zealot eating fire. One of them trying to make a beeline initially towards the probe line, but now trying to get right back on top of the Zealots, but it looks like Dewalt has handled this really well. Ooh, almost getting pinned into his Nexus, but the Zealots trying to get fire and very quickly clean up battle probes, able to get the final kill, but Dewalt lost some damage on these Dragoons, but really didn't have any other cost. And he gets a probe scout into the base at this stage. So where Xin wanted to do some follow-up and do some adjustment on the build order, instead he's got a probe wandering around his base, which limits his options severely.
Well, I love this follow-up from Dewalt. He's going to go for a fast Nexus. He knows building 3 Zealots and really losing nothing in return means that Xin's going to have to be on the back foot. Also, the fact that he gets into the base and sees that, hey, this guy just has nothing. Well, what am I afraid of? So I love the position from Dewalt now. It's going to be the first time I would say he's got a massive build order advantage. And now Xin really has to make some magic happen. It's going to be a 3-gate follow-up because Dewalt sees everything. He sees that, of course, there's no Citadel. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, so now, unlike Game 1 and Game 2, in the first match of this series, we're going to see Dewalt actually with the lead, where he's going to have that. And considering he won the first 2 matches with that lead, it's got to be a scary situation for Xin. The Zealots, though, the Dragoons making their way down towards Xin's natural expansion and eating a little bit of fire there. So not going to get additional scout, but he needs to be careful not to just throw troops away with here. But Dewalt in a very commanding, very firm position. He's already got the 3 gates to immediately kick that economy up. As far as a follow-up, he's got the supply lead. He's probably got the probe count lead. So I really like his situation here.
Yeah, this two goon poke could be a bait from Dewalt, because if you think about what Xin has done, in the previous series. Even when he was expanding, he wanted to be aggressive with his first 6 goons or so. And if he gets aggressive, moving into a guy where he thinks that this guy just has a low goon count, but he actually has 3-gate goon production, well, all of Sheen's goons may just get taken out. So she needs to be careful not to be overly confident if he does make a move out like that. We do see that he is going into a robo though, so I don't think he will move out, but I guess he could.
But it looks like we got 3-gate robo behind this, so not only getting an early economic pick, there should be a larger troop count on the ground for Dewalt, and I don't think he's going to be that far behind. And I think Sheen also is probably going to go observer first, because he probably wants to get a good look into Dewalt space just to see what he's up against. So it is going to move more towards the mid game, but being that metaverse with that exposed third, having a superior troop count is a significant advantage. And Dewalt, all things are pointing, and he still gets another probe in and sees the robo. Are you kidding me? How did he even think to try to sneak that probe in? And Sheen without troops in position to deny that scout. So Dewalt has all of the information. He's got the troop count lead. I don't know what you can do at this stage, to be honest. Other opponents, I would be like, yeah, you could pull out shenanigans, but against Dewalt, that's too much information. You've given him too many cards.
Yeah, he didn't get to see the observatory or support bait timing, but he should be feeling very confident in his position. He did confirm that there's a nexus too, so he knows, first off, his nexus is way faster. There's no way that this guy's support bay is going to be much faster, if at all faster, than my own support bay timing. And Dewalt is going to make a move out because he knows it's just 2-gate versus 3-gate. I love how he's mixing a couple zealots, but Sheen up to the task. He's going to have a couple zealots himself. The observer sees the army though. That's critical for Sheen. And will Dewalt commit here? It looks like he wants to.
He's going to go ahead and attack uphill. Initial zealot eating a lot of free fire. The high ground advantage in the misfire might be the difference where Sheen might be able to win this, but the target fire, it's not happening. The target fire, he's breached the high ground with a lot of these Dragoons, and he just, has the superior army count, is now focus firing every single Dragoon down, and Sheen actually ceding the high ground is just moving those Dragoons off to try to bait Dewalt away from that natural expansion. The probes fleeing, getting out of dodge. They know this Nexus is going to go down in short order. Maybe with, no, not even a two-pronged attack here. I think there is a Reaver up here on the high ground, but it can't come down on the low ground because otherwise it's going to get picked off. And as long as these Dragoons stay towards the upper portion of this ramp, either they're taking out a Reaver as it crawls down, and the Observer is going to walk up and see it as well to be in position to go ahead and pick it off. I think Sheen saw that shimmer. So now crashing down, getting it, actually a lot of misfire. That did not land on that Reaver, so some lucky shots. So trying to buy himself some time to get a troop count, but if Dewalt reinforces this at all, that will be it. And I don't know that this Nexus is going to be saved, but even if this does get saved, this is a huge amount of lost mining time.
Yeah, 6-gate follow-up, and the Nexus is dead, and he gets out, saving 6 out of the 7 goons. And I would say at least Sheen has 4-gate follow-up behind it. Like, he can go for an instant counterattack. The problem is he just nowhere near the amount of units that Dewalt has right now. Dewalt up 20 supply, has that Nexus or Nat up and running, has massive econ, but there is double Reaver already done for Sheen. No shuttle just yet, so it's going to give Dewalt time to get a Reaver out for himself to match at least one of the Reaver counts of Sheen.
But yeah, you got 6 gateways behind this. You have a Robo. As long as Dewalt doesn't end up in a horrendous engagement position, he still should be able to punch through this. It looks like Sheen wanting to speed things up, already moving his Dragoons ahead. I think he's waiting for that shuttle to finish before he moves up with the rest of the troops. But given the flat troop count, given Dewalt's position, he needs to pull out a miracle.
Yeah, it would take these Reavers to just have the best connections I've ever seen into like a group of 4 to 8 Dragoons, like over and over and over, like 3 or 4 shots onto a group of 4 goons. Maybe he can salvage this game, but Dewalt already has speed on his Zealots. He already has 8-gate production. Even if Dewalt was to lose the fight, I'm sure reinforcements would still just overrun the army. So Sheen, he's going to try and make it happen right here, but look at this. Dewalt already has so many units on the left side, which is still probably superior in numbers to what Sheen actually has right now.
So looks like Sheen does at least have those Reavers. Maybe if he can connect with them. He's trying to bully his way up into the natural expansion. Is able to do so. High Templar are migrating in the background, so that's looming. The Zealots on top of the Reaver getting some shots. One of those Reavers are down, and there's GG from Sheen. He did not have the raw army count. even with those 2 reavers, just didn't have the raw armory count to deal with what Dewalt had. And so quick game 1 in Dewalt's favor. And now Xin, I think the reason we saw that probe move out in the middle of the map for Dewalt early is I think you had that same thought, which is you had the build order advantage, I won, so let me make sure you're not proxy gating me in the middle of the map. So I think that might have been the probe scout, but barring just, maybe sneaking an early probe into Dewalt's base and Dewalt not seeing it, something along those lines, it just looks like Dewalt is outclassing Xin across the board.
Yeah, and you can see what happens when Dewalt has a even build order or build order advantage. He capitalizes big time. You know, actually the big fight that we had at Xin's base where Dewalt attacked into high ground, I thought that was going to be a mistake. The goon count looked somewhat even, but somehow it wasn't. Like, he just had, what, 7 goons left over? I thought for sure that was going to be a massive mistake. I hope we can watch the replay at some point to see what the actual goon count was, because I thought it was an okay position for Xin, but not the case. But now Xin's down 0-1. It's going to be his map pick. Again, we look at the maps. We saw him pick Butter earlier. I think he picked Butter earlier, if I remember correctly. And I'm suspecting that we may see that again, or Eclipse get picked, because those are two-player maps, and I'm sure they have a lot of experience on it. I mean, we may even see Goodnight, because Goodnight's in the ladder right now.
Yeah, if I was Xin, I would just, at this stage, I'd try to grab a map where you can show your best match. Just find your best map, play that, and see how you measure up, and use this as more, I mean, maybe you can sneak something out, but at this stage, honestly, Dewalt's looking dominating across the board. So, but Xin, a clever player. So, I'm just talking over myself. Basically, I'm expecting Dewalt to win this, is what it comes down to, barring a miracle from Xin. Just because in every regard, like 2 build order advantage is a loss. Xin has yet to pick a game off Dewalt, and most of them have just looked commanding from Dewalt top to bottom. It seems like every engagement has been won by him as well.
Yeah, except for, I think, the first one on Monopoly, when it was outside of Xin's base, he out-microed the goons. Other than that, it's been all Dewalt all day long. We get a look at his stats. You can see he just always does very well in BSL. Sometimes even goes as far as the finals. You can see he's got second at least twice. I think in previous seasons of BSL, he's even won BSL. And meanwhile, Xin, really not a lot of statistics on him because it's his first time into the BSL, but he's been showing us some good games, but so far no answer to Dewalt. We should be going into our map pretty soon once players are ready. So again, guys, we want to thank you all for watching. Oh, never mind.
Eclipse.
We're just gonna go straight into our game. Eclipse is the pick. Let's see if Dewalt closes it out. Okay, and in the top right, he needs your energy, chat. He's got to find a victory here or he's done. It's Xin.
In the bottom left-hand corner, as the blue Protoss, we have Dewalt.
You know what I find shocking is we haven't seen any shenanigans. Like, we haven't seen any DT. We haven't seen one-gate robo. We haven't seen any real one-base play. It's always been a Nexus follow-up. And I mean, in PvP, a lot of times you see really scrappy battles in the early games, and we're just seeing big macro play from both players.
Yeah, big macro both directions. I'm rooting for Xin here, actually. I have trouble not rooting for the underdog. And also there's that entire caster pride thing. I know he does casting and the streaming on his side of in China. So I want to see him pull one out. I want to see him be able to take Dewalt. So we'll see how this plays out. This is Eclipse. There are opportunities to pull shenanigans off. It's a little bit harder because it is a 2-player map, but Dewalt on several of these maps has not sent out a probe scout at all. And if that continues to be the case, then honestly, that's what I would have done, is seeing that Dewalt did not send out a probe scout in game 1, game 2, I would have proxied in game 3. But we'll see what Xin has under, if he's got any sort of hidden card up his sleeve here.
Yep, so far, nothing unusual. Ooh, I think that's gas. Oh.
Dancing around.
Is it? So far, we have not seen gas from either player. There's gas for Xin, and there is gas from Dewalt. So He was just playing with us, acting like he's gonna 2-gate, but in the end, just opening with a standard opener. I love how he's scouting for the common proxy positions because, like you said, in the first 2 games, he's aware that he didn't scout at all, and Xin may be thinking like, hey, I should just proxy this guy, but not the case.
And a little bit of an early probe scout to just check the common 2-gate locations. Looks like there's 7x score being built there for Xin, 7x score up for Dewalt. So somehow, though, Xin is up just a little bit in minerals, and a little bit up otherwise. Actually, as I say that, looks to be jumped in supply. Probes getting inside both bases, so they're going to have the full information on this 2-player map.
Yep, so we see that Xin actually made the Zealot. Meanwhile, Dewalt, I do not think, built the Zealot. And Dewalt sees it. Okay, luckily, the probe does not get microed down right there. Is he going to try? Oh, okay. Are you really going to try and range this Zealot? Yeah, that's a little ambitious, I think, Dewalt. What? Okay, okay.
Trying to pull it off.
Okay. Even though I like that Dewalt went for that, I am also at the same time happy that Xin knocked that thing down. It's like, dude, come on. I can. That's a little ballsy, don't you think? And now Dewalt has no intel at all. Is that Citadel? Tell me it's Citadel.
So inside the base, Dewalt dropping.
There it is.
Citadel. Yep. So Dewalt opting to open up the Citadel. We'll see what Xin does from here. Let's see if he goes 1-gate. If he goes 1-gate Robo, I'm going to be really happy.
I just don't think that's what he's going to do because he hasn't done it all day long, and he's pulled off of gas. So this is going to be essentially the same thing he pulled out in the first series, which is going to be Nexus into 3-gate. And as I stated coming into the series, this is the move that I would have gone for as Dewalt, knowing that this guy just seems to like macro play, really does not get fast observer tech. And unfortunately for Xin, unless a Forge comes down, this is probably going to be his BSL down the drain.
Oof. Which is rough to see, especially when it's like, I want to see him take a match. Also with the probe disrespect, doing the attack.
Yeah.
Feels a little bit disrespectful even attempting that. But I guess if you have spare macro, and there's the Templar archives. Xin not in position. The Dragoons are there to go ahead and box out any scout that was moving this direction. So this looks like it is in fact going to be another win for Dewalt.
That has to be a Forge. It cannot be anything other than that. It's a pylon, which, oh no, it's a Robo. It's just flat out too late. Maybe he can hold position his ramp and not outright die, but the Nexus is dead. It's gonna be taken down by DTs or goons, and then Dewalt behind this can just expand himself.
Every once in a while, I see a player, they'll move those Dragoons out and they'll be able to blockade the DT once they see the Shimmer and buy some time that way. Right now, Xin trying to blockade a probe scout out. He's got 0 information on what Dewalt's doing behind this. Dewalt's going to go ahead and drop a Nexus after this initial DT's on its route. But especially where he's holding position here with these units, it's going to be rough.
You can see the confidence that Dewalt has in his read of Xin too, because his probe died also. And he's feeling like, okay, well, this guy's not going DTs for whatever reason, and he puts down a Nexus before cannon. So he's just got Xin on lock in terms of build order. Observatory is not that bad of a timing, actually. And with the goons not moving across the map like I thought they were to help combo with the DT, I guess there is a world where maybe Xin can hold this, but if he doesn't see the Shimmer, there's no world because this DT is about to rack up tons of kills.
Oof. Walks right into the main. The observer is not popping out right in time. So, this is going to be a lot of lost mining time. And there's 1 kill, 2 kills. And now they're in flight. So a big win for Dewalt here early, able to shut down production at the main. It's a while before that observer is going to be out. And also high ground. You got to walk into high ground to that Dark Templar. So it can go ahead and hide in a corner and be annoying for a long period of time. In the meantime, that natural expansion is up and saturated for Dewalt.
Oh my gosh, the second DT going into the natural. This is so annoying. He knows there's limited visibility with the single observer, and the DT's going to get taken out in the main, but he doesn't realize that there's a DT at the natural. He's transferred some probes, but not all of them. He's already racked up 4 kills. At least Xin's not out of the game just yet, but the DTs have done the damage. And like I said, Dewalt powering behind it. He's got a Nexus up himself. So he's going to be able to pump out a lot of gateway units pretty soon once he can ramp up his gateway production.
Yeah, just in case Xin was looking to go ahead and jump on him after that, we already have High Templar out. My guess is a Psy Storm being, and that's just a big jump in build order too. Oftentimes in mid game as Protoss, you want to go ahead and get to Storm on High Templar, and already there's cannons there, enough troops to defend this. So we'll see. Maybe he can hit before that Psy Storm is finished, but that's going to be Xin's one shot.
Yeah, and another DT actually was produced from Dewalt, or maybe that was the one at the natural, and it's going to go for potentially another backstab, or just try and get some free hits. Remember, DT does 40 damage. Even if it does get taken down eventually, it can dish out a lot of DPS. Focusing down these goons, okay, the DT gets taken down. 3 cannons are going to complete, and that's a fantastic storm, blanketing the majority of the goons, and that's it. Xin taps out. He realizes he has taken too much economic damage, and it's going to be Dewalt moving through again with another solid 2-0 victory.
I'm disappointed to see Xin eliminated. Wanted to see him take a match. I'm unsurprised that Dewalt advances, though. So Dewalt and Sziky, and I would not be shocked to see them playing down the line for potentially the championship. I want to see Xin again next season BSL, because he's a really fun player, to be honest, and that really made this an entertaining group altogether. But we got a Zerg advancing in the top position. So Sziky beating Dewalt, and not just beating Dewalt, beating him convincingly in those 2 matches. And Dewalt advancing, of course, still has a shot to take the championship. He took 2nd place last season, and you know he wants to go ahead, and I think he was kind of salty in the end of those matches as well. So he's going to go ahead and want to take a shot. Tomorrow, we've got another group of death coming up. I felt like today was a group of death, and tomorrow also feels like a group of death. You got Banu, you got Mihu, you have Quark, and you have Janhoon, which all of those players are extremely strong. Everybody's capable of taking a match or 2 off one another. So I'm expecting even more exciting matches tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow is going to be fantastic, since we have our current BSL champ Mihu going up against Mr. BSL himself, pretty much. It's Boneth and Quark and Janhoon, like you said. There's a real chance that our BSL champion could be eliminated, because even though you would probably favor Mihu versus the entire field here, or at least even versus Boneth, Quark has really solid builds, and he can catch Mihu off guard for sure. Not too sure of Janhoon. Mihu seems to, my opinion, have the Chinese Protoss players on lock, but I think that Janhoon could make an upset in PvP, maybe an upset versus Mihu, but of course that's going to be very tough. But yeah, this is going to be another group of death. I know that a lot of people were thinking that this was the group of death, especially since Boneth is also in there. But like you said, we finally get our first Zerg in, and if we look at the race rundown so far, there's 3 Terrans, 2 Protoss, and 1 Zerg, so it's somewhat balanced going into the final day. Unfortunately, there's only going to be 1 representative for Zerg for the remainder. And you were talking about we may see Sziky later, or Sziky versus Dewalt later on. I have to point out that because Dewalt and Sziky played each other in Group C already, they cannot face each other face versus each other again in the round of 8, and they can't face versus each other in the round of 4 either. So it could be a potential finals between Sziky and Dewalt, which would be very epic.
Yeah, I would not be shocked at all to see both those guys back in the finals, and that would be an absolutely epic match. Yeah, and I think you're right. Quark, one of his strongest matchups is versus Terran. If he gets eyes in his opponent's base, he can do all sorts of damage. In the meantime, everybody check out the sponsors. We got Optimunk, which is a new sponsor this season. So check that out. Esports Fund, as usual, which is extremely appreciated, and all of our donors from Patreon. Be sure to subscribe, join the Patreon, drop bits, help Zero out, help him go full time.
Yeah, for sure. At the $100 level, we want to thank, the one and only Star Lover. $50 level, Martin Harsmar Striker and Zero Sum. $30 level, Fizardo 86, Cuz, and Tupacalypse. $20 level, Nicholas Schuler, Christian Eddington, LML, Lincoln Pup, 9 Tech, and Quark. And all you other Patreon supporters, thank you so much for supporting the BSL. Remember, $10 Patreon support or above, all the replays. You want to see how Sziky macros like a god on Metaverse? That's how you get the replay. And of course, we have our current donation link goal. It's $5,000. We need a little bit more to complete that goal. So definitely consider supporting the BSL directly with your donation. Of course, you can subscribe. And as I've stated many times, we've got the shop, which has a lot of stuff there. BSL shirt, BSL sweatshirt, BSL mug, and of course, there's other BSL events going on every Thursday and Friday for the next couple of weeks. We've got the race championships. The first 2 or 3 days, Protoss was dominating, but Sziky and the Zerg crew made a resurgence yesterday, getting 6 wins. And Terran, no slouch either. They're pretty high up there too, but still Protoss in the lead. So definitely tune into that. All of the games so far have been really, really good. It's highly entertaining. I definitely suggest you tune into that.
Yep, check out Trovo, and that is Bombastic Starleague on Trovo, where, yeah, in those matches, it's fun. There's a lot of, Artosis might get in there. I saw G5, who's an amazing American Protoss and a really fun guy to watch play. But for our action, I think that covers everything we wanted to cover. We will both be back tomorrow, I believe, to cast that group of death, and yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yep. So again,
I'm unmuted. One more thing, guys. Remember that tomorrow is a time change in Poland, so tomorrow we will start the cast 1 hour earlier. So everyone should get their nice asses together and and be ready 1 hour earlier. Okay, I'm muted again.
Yep, I'm setting my clock right now. Set my alarm. So again, guys, thank you so much for watching today. Tomorrow's going to be Group D for Death. Mihu and Bonnet in there, so don't want to miss it. See if one of them get eliminated. That'd be super hype. I would be very excited to see that. So thank you guys for watching, and we will both see you tomorrow.